Chapter 514, Thousand Bird Seal, we have encountered enemy scouts again. This is the seventh group. The vice commander's tone was very calm. The other has a high opinion of us. Oh, Sherdong made a sound. His posture did not change as he gazed into the distance. His blue eyes were as deep as the ocean. Based on the skill level of these scouts, the enemy is not weak, the vice commander continued. If the others' combat Shio are also at this level, then we will have a tough battle. Oh, Sherdong was unaffected. We need to be careful of our retreat path being cut off, the vice commander reminded. If our retreat is cut off, then we will be left in a dangerous situation. Sherdong finally reacted. Did you inform Yiling? Yes, the vice commander nodded and said, Yiling Darren has already spread out the mo grass seeds. In 15 days, these mo grass seeds will germinate. Why was mo seed not used? Sherdong's tone was calm, but the vice commander who was familiar with him could hear the dissatisfaction in his tone. The vice commander explained, the MOC seed is too expensive. We did not have enough time to prepare. Sherdong was silent. Mo grass seed was slower to grow than MOC seed. If it was MOC seed, it would form a small mo rearing seed, and it would take at least 15 days for mo grass seed to form a mo grass seed. Compared to the mo rearing seed, the mo grass seed was a level below in terms of expansion speed and the threat it would pose to enemies. In Bloody Sky Metropolis Jia, the mo had used vast areas of mo rearing seed to form a secure defensive line. Even though Sherdong felt that the MOC seed was more effective, he knew that he could not blame Yiling for this matter. The chaos rifts had appeared so suddenly. Even he had not expected it. From the time the chaos rift appeared to the time that Sherdong decided to lead the troops to attack, there was only a brief period of time. It was already very difficult for Yiling to have accomplished what he did. Also, he felt the mo grass sea was enough to secure their base. Their advance had been so smooth it surpassed Sherdong's imagination. When he learned of Cloud Sea Jia's position, he understood why this was the case. This was a little place was remote and unattended to. It lacked powerful sects, did not have unique produce, was poor and desolate, and there were many places that were still unexplored. The successive victories did not give Sherdong any pleasure. His opponents were too weak. There was nothing to be proud of in these kinds of victories. His only hope now was that the unexplored areas under the Cloud Sea would give him some surprises. Otherwise, taking over such a place could not bring any benefits to his family. Sherdong was going to get the vice commander to remind Yiling, but thinking about Yiling's personality and how he never made low-level mistakes, he changed the topic. Have you found out yet? What products from Cloud Sea Jia are valuable? Looking at the present, it has some seams of ore, but there is not a large amount, and the grade is not high. The vice commander looked at Sherdong and then said, but Xiaohua said he felt the presence of mo embryos. Mo embryos. Sherdong's eyes ignited and for the first time, his tone changed. Yes, mo embryos. Even though he does not know what kind of mo embryo it is, but there definitely are some. You also know, Xiaohua has never been wrong in this matter before. The vice commander's tone was confident. An imperceptible trace of joy appeared in Sherdong's eyes. Xiaohua was a troop leader under Sherdong's command and a rare one who cultivated a mo physique. The mo physique that he practiced was called the night-tide snail mo physique. This kind of mo physique did not have strong battle abilities, but it had a special ability, an unusually powerful ability to smell. The vice commander was right. Xiaohua had never been incorrect in this before. Mo embryo. They grew among the flora and wild beasts, and were all kinds of strange shapes. Some lived within wild beasts, other within plants, some were in lifeless areas and appeared like rocks. Even a true mo like Sherdong found it hard to say what were actually mo embryos. But this did not stop them from knowing the value of mo embryos. The greatest use of mo embryos was to cultivate the mo physique. There were all kinds of mo physique and their cultivation methods were as varied and as strange. For example, Sherdong's cold blade mo physique and Xiaohua's night-tide snail mo physique were cultivated through their bloodlines. But more MO physiques were not achieved through bloodlines. Using MO embryos to cultivate a MO physique was a common method. This was what the MO embryos were valued for. If there was MO embryos here, Shi Dong understood. He needed to reassess the value of Cloud Si Jie. At this time, Shi Dong suddenly saw one of his scouts race back in a disheveled state. There were some shocking wounds on his body that were seeping blood. Shi Dong's pupils suddenly contracted. Darren, there is a very well-hidden transportation formation here, Gu Minggong said respectfully. A merchant house had invited me to build it. Keeping it a secret, the site is very well hidden. This subordinate has put traps into it. If it is destroyed, this subordinate would detect it immediately. Ever since Sui Mo had set the soul-setting divine light in him, Gu Minggong was extremely obedient. If Sui Mo told him to go east, he definitely would not go west. At the beginning, he had been extremely cautious and fearful as though he was on thin ice. As time passed, his terror had mostly dissipated. Sui Mo never limited him on materials and continuously provided rare and valuable materials for him to forge, so he quickly immersed himself into forging. He was unable to get rid of the Jinji on his body no matter what he did. As time went on, he could only go with the flow. Fortunately, his days were pretty good. Other than not having freedom, everything else was very good, especially his forging. There was no other place that would give him so many materials to waste. Sui Mo had specifically taken him along on this campaign. One part was that Gu Minggong was a famed Jindan expert, and had combat capabilities. The other point was that Gu Minggong was very familiar with Cloud Si Jie. He wasn't just familiar with the local transportation formations, he could make his own transportation formations. This was a great help to Sui Mo. Sui Mo might have been provocative and stirring in his words, seeming as though he would fight to the death, but inside, he was still very afraid of death. Under the direction of Gu Minggong, they quickly entered the underground room of the storehouse. As expected, they found a transportation formation. Gu Minggong inspected it to make sure there were not any problems before he activated the transportation formation. Several pieces of 4th grade Jingshi were put into the formation. The formation instantly lit up with light. For this sneak attack, Sui Mo really invested greatly. To say of nothing else, just to transport so many people was a shocking expense. The people stepped after each other into the transportation formation. Streaks of light lit up and then they disappeared. The other side of the transportation formation were also in a dark underground storehouse. Gu Minggong made his way familiarly through the basement and led everyone to exit. Everyone suddenly found that the buildings outside were in complete ruins and the formations were completely damaged. Darren, this is Cloud Watching Ridge. Gu Minggong's expression was not very good. He clearly was shocked by the hellish scene in front of him. Fighting between Xiuzhou was regular and common as eating, but compared to the horrific scene in front of him, that was just playing house. Sui Mo identified Cloud Watching Ridge was the one of the first places that were attacked by the Mo. Even now, they had not found where the Chaos Rift had appeared. They could only use this crude method and slowly search. Only when they found the Chaos Rift would they be able to find the other's base. The other's base definitely was not far from the Chaos Rift. Looking across the landscape, it was a field of debris. Compared to Gu Minggong's loss of composure, Sui Mo was much calmer. He had seen scenes bloodier than this. He turned around and said to Gu Minggong, "Let's start." Gu Minggong took out a paper seal and breathed Ling power onto it. His left hand moved as he chanted. Pew! The paper seal suddenly started to burn and turned into a ball of fire. Psh hiss hiss. Among the flames, a group of nondescript gray birds flew out. There was a large number of them that flapped their wings to fly in all directions and disappeared in a flash. Xu Long and the others looked curiously at this scene. Even Sui Mo was interested. In terms of variety of skills, it definitely was the seal Xiu that stood tallest. Their endless variety of moves would always keep people's eyes on them. Noticing Sui Mo's gaze, Gu Minggong hurriedly introduced, "Darren, this is the 1,000 bird seal and most suited for searching." However, it is not easy to make and very pricey. It is very practical. Mo started to consider if he should outfit guard camp with seals like this. Other than the Mo shadow guard who had shocking speed, guard camp was very average in speed and unsuited to being scouts. The 1,000-bird seals could cover for guard camp's shortcoming to a great degree. But Mo was not sure if Shu Long and the others could even use paper cranes. Paper cranes required Ling power, while Shu Long and the others cultivated Mo skills. He requested a paper seal from Gu Minggong and gave it to Shu Long. No matter how Shu Long tried, he was unable to use it. Mo could only give up on this tempting idea. As expected, the heavens were fair. It was not realistic to get all the benefits. In the past, guard camp always followed Vermilion Bird Camp. This was the first time they were fighting so far from the main base. Many problems that they had not encountered before were exposed now. Mo was suddenly curious. How did the Mo soldiers that were not fast deal with this problem? He ran to ask Wei. Wei explained, the Mo have many ways to solve this problem. For example, some Mo physiques are shockingly fast or they have unique attributes. These kinds of Mo are very powerful as scouts. Some Mo armies would raise Mo insects. They are extremely fast, and can conceal themselves. It is hard for enemies to detect them. Mo understood now. The Xiuzha had Xiuzha moves, Yaoma had Yaoma moves. After development through so many years, the systems of Yao, Mo, and Xiu had gradually been perfected. Xiuzha had geniuses, how could all of the Yaoma be stupid? Mo also learned from Pu Yao and Wei that the internal conflicts of Yaoma were much crueler than inner conflicts among Xiuzha. The Mo had the fiercest infighting. Mo noted down this problem and decided to resolve it when he got back. They waited for about 15 minutes when Gu Minggo, who was standing with his eyes closed, suddenly shuddered. He opened his eyes abruptly, southeast. Mo and the others became alert. Without a word, they flew towards the southeast. After flying for about 4 hours, a mountain valley appeared in front of them. As they flashed past the valley, Mo's body suddenly froze. Uncontrolled shock came into his eyes. Chapter 515 Dumbstruck Yiling. The black soil stood as a stark contrast, it seemed to have been dyed in ink and was clearly divided from the surrounding soil. Mo grass sea. Weiss' reminder came immediately as they spotted it. Mo grass sea. Mo asked in response. Our luck is pretty good. Wei explained, this area has been recently seeded with Mo grass seed. However, the Mo grass seed has not germinated, so I say that our luck is pretty good. It is very powerful. It is not powerful, but after reaching maturity, the expansion rate of Mo grass is astounding. It will spread like a poison and is able to survive on the poorest of soils. Its greatest ability is to absorb the Ling power of the area it grows in. Mo inhaled sharply. For Xiuzha, they would face great trouble if there was not any Ling power in the air. This meant that the Xiuzha could only expend the Ling power inside their body and it could not be easily replenished. If they did not have access to special methods, they could only occasionally replenish their Ling power with Jingshi. Ling foods and Ling Dan were more reliable and caused fewer side effects, but this would dramatically inflate the cost and difficulty of supplying the troop. But guard camp cultivates Mo skills. Mo suddenly reacted. That is why I said our luck is pretty good. Weiss' tone was very calm. I feel you should have more confidence in guard camp. The present guard camp is nothing like it was in the past. A cold snort suddenly sounded in Mo's mind. It was like the dark and cold hiss of a poisonous snake. It was Pu Yao. How could the clever Pu Yao not hear Weiss' insult? Mo pretended to not hear it. Only when these two were at odds could he, the fisherman, get the rice. If the two worked together, he could not imagine how he would survive his days. It was lucky that he brought along guard camp. If he had brought Vermilion Bird Camp, he would have been at a great disadvantage. The Mo grass sea was ineffective against guard camp. Mo's heart rested slightly. The other was very cautious. This could be understood from the area filled with Mo Grass Sea. Did you find the general position of the enemy's base? Zhuo asked Gu Minggong. Gu Minggong shook his head. This patch of black soil is very strange. The 1,000-bird seal cannot fly over it. As expected. This Mo Grass Sea had not finished forming, but its effect on draining Ling power had started to emerge. The gray birds created from the 1,000-bird seal were constructed from Ling power and would be destroyed and they flew into this area. But since they found the Mo Grass Sea, then the other's base was definitely in here. Zhuo thought for a moment and then called for a Wen. After speaking in a low tone, a Wen nodded and then his plumed armor fanned out. Whoosh, his body disappeared. A Wen's strength had progressed greatly. He was different from Shu Long and he was training as a lone soldier. His shocking talent caused his rate of improvement to be rapid. Pu Yao and Wei had a rare agreement and praised A Wen's talents. A Wen quickly returned. He came back with the enemy base's general location. Just like Zhuo had thought, as the Mo Grass Seed had not matured, the other had not established their camp for long time. Under A Wen's direction, they silently approached the other's base. Yi Ling had a head full of maroon hair, and his gray-white eyes looked extremely deep. The wrinkles on his face ran deep. He had an ordinary birth and no special bloodline. He also lacked talent in cultivating Mo skills, but with his outstanding work ethic, he had found a place in the army. Even though he was only in charge of the supplies, this was already very good for him and his family. His working attitude was extremely proactive and industrious. He almost never made mistakes. Over time, he quickly gained a reputation of being capable and trustworthy. Even Sherdong, who had eyes on top of his head, was willing to partner up with him. Where is Sherdong Darren now? He asked. At Grey Cloud Sea Continent. The latest reports say that our scouts have come into contact with Shouja scouts. Many of our scouts have been wounded, the vice commander hurriedly answered. Yi Ling was not very shocked. This is very normal. Shouja are not weak. It would actually be abnormal if they did not react at all to us knocking on their door and killing their people. Darren is right. We need to be careful and prevent others from ambushing us. Yi Ling's expression was grave as he said, have the troops on high alert. There are smart people among Shouja, we cannot trip up on flat ground. Yes. Darren, the vice commander, accepted the order. Suddenly, a howl sounded that almost ruptured Yi Ling's eardrums. The duo's expressions suddenly changed. Someone had mounted a sneak attack on their base. Zhuo Mo's face fell. They had sneaked right up in front of the enemy. If they didn't use this chance to mount a sneak attack, they would be struck by lightning. Yet he had not expected the other's alertness to be higher than he had predicted. He had avoided the other's scouts, but the enemy's defenses were extremely thorough and they had been detected anyway. The thing that caused this was an insect the size of a thumb. It was hidden in the soil and was extremely difficult to attack. Something in the black soil under their feet seemed to be shifting. It rapidly advanced towards Zhuo Mo's group. Zhuo Mo was the first to react. His expression changed slightly. Black Leech defense line. Almost in an instant, guard camp finished falling into formation. Vast power came from behind him. The shock and fear inside Zhuo Mo quickly disappeared like snow on a hot day. The Great Day Mo physique was stimulated and quickly activated. Little Mo kill. Thick black mist shrouded Zhuo Mo's right hand. He raised his hand and slammed it towards the flow of black leeches heading towards them. A black shadow of a hand left his hand. Boom! The flow of black leeches seemed to strike wall and dispersed into countless smaller flows. These slender black flows suddenly made a strange turn in the air and shot back towards Zhuo Mo like black arrows. If it was a normal Shouja, they would have panicked facing such a sudden change. However, Zhuo Mo's group had already seen the power of the Black Leech defense line in Bloody Sky Metropolis Jia and expected that these black leeches were not easy to destroy. At the very front of the large formation, Zhuo Mo did not panic. He was immersed in a unique feeling. There seemed to be unseen threads that were spreading out from his body. Each unseen thread connected to a hardship guard. This hardship guard would also have dozens of thin threads that were connected to other hardship guards. These threads were connecting everyone. Power flowed through these unseen threads, passing through the layers of connections before they gathered on Zhuomo's body. An burst of power tightly wrapped around Zhuomo. Under the magnification of this power, any normal move would now carry the weight of a mountain. The great Damo physique was unusually active. Every cell in his body seemed to be cheering. Without thinking, Zhuomo spread open his fingers and then grasped at the air in the direction of the slender flows of black leeches. Pia! The black leeches in the air suddenly exploded and turned to black mist. Zhuomo waved his hand. The mist instantly dissipated. Yet when he saw the now organized Mo army in front of him, Zhuomo's expression instantly became grave. His alertness had been raised when they encountered the black leech defense line. This was a temporary base, yet the other had set up a black leech defense line. To say of nothing else, just the cautiousness of this planning was enough to create a headache for people. The black leech defense line did not earn a lot of time for the enemy, but using such a brief amount of time, the other had finished their battle preparations. They were well trained. Just this quality was enough for Zhuomo to not dare to underestimate the enemy. Yi Ling appeared extremely calm. He had the same heavy gaze as usual, and did not show any panic. This brought his subordinates great bravery and confidence. Yet what no one knew was that underneath this, Yi Ling was not as calm. His gaze was locked onto the youth at the front of the enemy formation, and his mind was in turmoil. He had seen the entire process that the youth used to defeat the Black Leech defense line. The youth seemed to be very familiar with the Black Leech defense line and had defeated it with confidence. Yi Ling knew that the Black Leech defense line, that he had set up, was very thin, but he never expected the enemy to defeat it this easily. The other didn't seem to be affected by the Mo grass sea at all. This was a shock to him. The Mo grass sea had not completely formed, but its ability to destroy Ling power was already present. If Xiuzha entered this area, they would be affected to various degrees. But the other didn't seem to react at all. He was not the only one. Even the subordinates behind him didn't seem to be under any pressure. What was even stranger was the shape of the other's formation. Anyway, he looked at it, Yi Ling found it familiar. Wasn't this the Crow Fiend Mo kill formation of us Mo? The Crow Fiend Mo kill formation wasn't a common thing. Only armies with power would cultivate this domineering and vicious killing formation. Seeing a group of Xiuzha use the Crow Fiend Mo kill formation of the Mo to defeat the Black Leech defense line of the Mo, Yi Ling was almost dumbstruck where he stood. All hail the king! Who was really the Mo here? Zhuomo took the chance to examine Yi Ling. What battle formation are they using? Zhuomo secretly asked Wei. I don't recognize it. It probably is a new battle formation that came out after our imprisonment. Wei's brow creased as well. He hoped that he could help Zhuomo gain victory. Only victory could prove that guard camp's strength had improved under his guidance. Could someone like Pu Yao compare to Wei? A warm sunny smile came back onto Wei's face as he said with a hint of holy piousness. Do not worry. With the Crow Fiend Mo killing formation that I taught as well as your great Mo physique, we can flatten them. Oh, there was really nothing to be done, it was Wei, that taught little Zhuomo his great Mo physique. There was really nothing to be done, there was really nothing to be done. Little Poo. The light of Wei, will burn you with my radiance. Wei's smile became even more holier and warmer. In the 10-finger prison, Pu Yao suddenly raised his head. The corner of his eyes twitched. There seemed to be a vast ocean of blood howling and roaring in his bloody eye. Nan Yu and the others trembled. A moment later, Pu Yao's cold voice squeezed out from between his teeth. 1 month. If you cannot achieve this in 1 month, there is a good place waiting for you. The scalps of Nan Yu and the others prickled as they fled in panic. Chapter 516, To cross swords. Dong looked coldly at the Xiuxia scouts that were roaming nearby. Starting from the first day of contact, the fighting between the two sides' scouts never stopped. The scouts were the elite of an army. The fighting was short yet fierce, ending in serious wounds if not death. Dong did not feel surprised. He had spent many years in the military, and his heart was as hard as stone. The conflict between scouts were the prelude to a battle, and he had confidence in his men. These scouts had followed him for many years. Each one of them had been promoted based on their merit and service. Yet the development of the situation still shocked him greatly. In 3 short days, 27 elite scouts had been wounded or killed. Even with a rock-solid heart, Dong felt a hint of coldness. The number of wounded and dead spoke to the violence of battle. But pitting their scouts against the enemy scouts, the other had sustained an insignificant number of wounds and fatalities. Dong's gaze grew colder. Dong understood. They had encountered a great enemy. However, this did not cause him to feel nervousness and uncertainty. It was the exact opposite. Under his icy expression, the battle intent in his mind was like the hidden turbulence under the thick layer of ice that was slowly rippling. The vice commander looked at the Xiuxia scouts roaming at the surroundings. Even now, he couldn't quite believe it that his scouts were defeated. Does Cloud Si Jie really have such a powerful battalion? He murmured to himself in a voice filled with disbelief. At the start, when they entered Cloud Si Jie, they hadn't known anything, but as they gathered together information, Cloud Si Jie became clear in their eyes. Nothing had mentioned that Cloud Si Jie had such a powerful battalion. The battalions they had defeated before had battalions that ranked in the top 10 of Cloud Si Jie, but compared to this mysterious battalion, they weren't even worth mentioning. Was this battalion the strongest battalion of Cloud Si Jie, the Na Shan battalion? Dong did not speak. There was no meaning in trying to guess the origins of this battalion. In his eyes, there was only victory. He was not concerned at all with the other's name or history. The enemy scouts had created a dense net. Their scouts could not leave. Subsequently, the amount of information that reached Dong decreased. This feeling was terrible. He seemed to be trapped in quicksand, and any struggle was useless. The other did not seem to be in a hurry to attack. Other than these scouts that stuck to them like glue, the other's primary force did not show themselves. Suddenly, Dong's mind shifted. He recalled Turtle Island. Was this battalion Turtle Island Battalion? The information on Turtle Island Battalion was almost non-existent. There was only scattered mentions in the information they gathered, and that was just about a small conflict. Thinking about Turtle Island's recent reputation, and this mysterious battalion that suddenly appeared, Dong instantly made the connection between the two. So this was how it was. Gazing at the scouts, Dong gripped the mantis blade at his waist tightly. The other was dragging it out for time. Yes. The other was trying to make time. But why were they trying to drag for time? Dong's thought became clearer. The other needed time, they were waiting for something. Were they waiting for Turtle Island's defenses to be completed? It was not so simple. This short contact could not be said to be a conflict, but Dong could smell the danger level of the other's battle general. An expert. The other's aims definitely were not so simple. Also, defending Turtle Island was not a very good idea. Was it? Dong's heart suddenly jumped. He turned around abruptly. Inquire about Yi Ling's situation. Immediately. Frightened by his commanding officer's moves, the vice commander stilled for a moment before reacting. Yes. He took out a black insect on his hand and cut his finger. With a flick, a drop of blood entered the forehead of the insect. The insect started to fade in his hand at a visible rate until it disappeared. Time slowly passed, but the insect never came back. The vice commander's expression changed. As expected. Dong, whose expression did not change, had his suspicions confirmed. He had just been speculating on the other's intentions, now he was definitely sure. Have we brought along any emo grass seed? Dong suddenly asked about something completely unconnected. Yes, the vice commander reflexively answered. Dong gripped the mantis blade at his waist. He raised his head against the wind. The blue cap that represented the sky mantis flapped in the wind. The ocean-like eyes suddenly gave off a sharp light. It was as though he drew out the mantis blade that was sheathed at his waist. His body was filled with the determination to advance. Our target is Turtle Island, advance at full speed. The other was not easy to fool. Gong Sun Cha hadn't expected this Mo army to suddenly accelerate without warning. It formed a perfect assault battle formation and headed straight for Turtle Island like a sharp blade. Without a doubt, the enemy battle general had detected his aims. The counterattack was expected, but it was unusually strong. The great majority of people in this situation would turn back to act as reinforcements if their retreat was cut off. Yet this Mo army did the opposite and advanced at an accelerated rate. It was a decision filled with bravery. Even though the two were enemies, Gong Sun Cha could not help himself from sighing in praise. The other was forcing him into a final battle. If the other reached Turtle Island, even if he could win, the number of fatalities would reach a terrifying number. Turtle Island's defenses were very strong, but Turtle Island itself could not hold that many Xioja. Su Ling City had not finished rebuilding, and the defenses were next to nothing. If this was any other time, Gong Sun Cha would not hesitate to use these people to trade for a victory. But given the situation right now, a ruined Cloud Sea Jia was not of any benefit for them. Even Gong Sun Cha, who was only interested in being a battle general, could understand a concept as shallow as this. Actually, when Zuemo had said the words at the time, Lil Miss had been very surprised. But if there had to be one person that he would support unconditionally, there was only Zuemo. As to whether Shixiang's decision was correct, the obstacles they faced, and what consequences there were, it was not within the realm of his consideration. The only thing he would use his mind for, to scheme for, was victory. You want a final battle? Lil Miss' eyes flashed with an insane light. The shadow formed by the bangs at the front of his face seemed to cover his entire face. Then come. His mouth unconsciously curved in a smile that was as bashful as usual. Can we win? Bu Xidong's sweat was running in rivers down his face. The exhaustion caused his voice to gasp. They had just experienced an abnormally difficult session of training. Almost all the strength in their bodies had been squeezed out. This really was demonic cultivation. Before this, no one had ever heard of training like this. They didn't even dare think of this. Even with the great benefits, they were full of groans and complaints. Some people had even planned on running away. But ever since those few that ran away were captured and thrown into the sword formation, the wails that occurred daily caused all of Black Marshal Camp to feel their scalps prickle. Ma Fan had found experts from Golden Crow Camp to set up 50 sword formations that were placed right beside the campsite. Every day when they trained, they could clearly hear the inhuman screams coming out of the sword formation. Everyone settled down. Bu Xidong never thought of running away. He didn't have any talent, but he could endure hardship. In reality, the potential of a person was greater than they themselves realized. These people were starting to adjust to this terrifying level of training. The departure of Vermilion Bird Camp and Guard Camp could be concealed from other people, but not from Black Turtle Camp that was adjacent to Vermilion Bird Camp. Everyone knew the counterattack had started. When they had the time, they would discuss the situation. They probably can. The one who spoke was called Luo Wei. He was a sword xiao and had a natural advantage in the camp. He was also the primary attacker of their small team. However, Luo Wei's tone did not hold much confidence. I want us to be able to participate. Didn't we come just to fight against the Mo army? Just hiding here and training every day, it is so irritating. De Ban couldn't help but mutter from the side. He had a pair of conspicuous front teeth. He was unusually proud of them and wouldn't think of using Ling power to modify them. Consequently, everyone called him De Ban. Luo Wei said without raising his head, if Vermilion Bird Camp and Guard Camp cannot win, then we aren't even enough for a mouthful. Before, I felt I was strong, now I know how laughable that idea was. Everyone became silent. Luo Wei was right. At the beginning, there were many rebellious people, but after training for a few days, they finally understood how great the difference was between themselves and Vermilion Bird Camp. Who do you think is stronger, Guard Camp or Vermilion Bird Camp? Bu Xidong saw everyone was silent and hurriedly said. Does it need to be said? Of course it is Vermilion Bird Camp. De Ban said without thinking. Everyone's interests were stirred by this topic and spoke up. I also feel it is Vermilion Bird Camp. Vermilion Bird Camp. Ma Fan Darren is too strong. Those animal from Vermilion Bird Camp are not human. All of them supported Vermilion Bird Camp. Compared to Guard Camp that had never showed its face, they had a direct experience with the strength of Vermilion Bird Camp. Some of them even felt that there wasn't a stronger battalion than Vermilion Bird Camp in the world. Bu Xidong noticed that Luo Wei did not speak. He couldn't help but ask, Luo Wei, what do you feel? I don't know, Luo Wei stopped what he was doing, but I feel that since Guard Camp can rank together with Vermilion Bird Camp, it must have its strengths. When he spoke, he suddenly recalled when he had seen a person from Guard Camp the other day. The other person just glanced at him, and he felt all the blood in his body freeze. This incident had given him a deep impression. He was preparing to tell everyone about the incident when Ma Fan Darren's serene voice came like a ghost out of the ground. You've rested long enough, prepare for the next part of training. Everyone instantly jumped up as though something had bitten their behinds and sprinted towards the field. Ma Fan's figure slowly floated out of the air as he looked into the distance. This really was so troublesome. And he was missing such a spectacular battle. Chapter 517 Who is the MO here? Yi Ling's position was quartermaster, it was his primary duty, but he was not unfamiliar with battle. In truth, in the MO military, people who could not fight were unable to survive. The MO respected power. From childhood, they were taught the philosophy of fighting and its unparalleled and ultimate status. Status, wealth, MO skills, the hopes of the clan and others, all of them had to be earned through fighting prowess. This was a long battle that began in youth, a life that was cruel and filled with blood. Those that could survive this battle and achieve something were the elite of the MO. Yi Ling was that kind of elite. Even if he was just a quartermaster, even if it had been many years since he last fought, this kind of instinct would not degrade. The other's MO-esque style of fighting shocked him, but he quickly recovered his calmness. His years of experience in the military allowed him to face anything calmly. His preferred position as he commanded differed from Zhuo Mo. His position was at the center of the battle formation. For Mo, this was a rare position to stand in. Mo revered directness and brute force. Their battle generals usually stood at the front of the battle formation, as the tip of the blade. This could maximize the amount of strength they gathered from the entire battalion to unleash the strongest attack. That was where Zhuo Mo was standing. Yi Ling couldn't help but feel slight strangeness. As a true-blooded Mo, his position was not like the Mo but more similar to the Yao and the Xiuzhe. The enemy was clearly a Xiuzhe, but what he used was a conventional Mo battle style. Who really was the Mo here? This absurd thought flashed through his mind. He quickly refocused his attention. Threads of power responded to him. Everything in the surroundings suddenly became unprecedentedly clear. A feeling of strength grew quickly in his mind. Such a familiar feeling. Strangely, he felt emotional. The battle spirit in his blood had remained cold for many years, but now the excitement of his youth was reawakened. His eyes became misty black. Like a ball of mist, his figure disappeared in the air. Almost at the same time, every Mo soldier under his command had their eyes turn red as though they were dyed in fresh blood. Silently, murderousness grew. Mist Hand's seat. The holy smile on Weiss' face suddenly froze and he showed shock. What is that? Zhuo Mo didn't dare to be careless. In a flash, the enemy troops suddenly seemed to inflate. The murderousness made him feel great pressure. A very interesting Mo skill. Pu Yao's voice suddenly inserted, but his tone was full of undisguised schadenfreude. I in little way encountered this in the past. TSK, I really miss that time. Pu Yao dragged out the sound as he smacked his lips. He really appeared to be reminiscing about the past. Little way. Weiss' smile became increasingly forced. Hearing Pu Yao's words, Zhuo suddenly had a bad feeling. It's very powerful. Powerful? The corners of Pu Yao's lips rose slightly as he shook his head. No. It isn't powerful, but it is very interesting. Haha. As though he seemed to recall something, Pu Yao roared with laughter. The laughter that was furious and as sharp as blades echoed in Zhuo's sea of consciousness. Weiss' expression became increasingly terrible. Zhuo's bad feeling grew. Had they encountered a difficult enemy? I wonder how Yiling Darren is right now. The vice commander was full of worry. The other has gambled on Yiling Darren, and the troop they sent definitely would not be weak. The vice commander's nagging had caused Shi Dong's patience to finally reach its end. He impatiently interrupted, you don't need to worry for Yiling. But... Seeing the worry on his vice commander's face, Shi Dong thought and decided to say something. Do not underestimate Yiling. What he cultivates is the mist hand seat. Ah! The vice commander was shocked and his mouth was gaped so wide an egg could be shoved through it. After a long while, his mind refocused. He stammered out a question. Mist hand sea. Heavens! Yiling Darren actually cultivates mist hand seat. A military officer that was the quartermaster who cultivated the mist hand seat, this was insane. Shi Dong was silent for a moment. He suddenly said nonsensically, it is a pity, if only he also cultivated the mist mo physique. The vice commander paused again, but this time, he understood. Shi Dong suddenly raised his head. His blue eyes narrowed slightly and his hand went to the mantis blade at his waist. Looking down from the sky, the entire Mo army seemed to stop without any warning. The entire process was carried out like clockwork, in sync and unified without any confusion. In front of them, a troop was silently floating in the air. Shi Dong gripped the handle of the mantis blade, his expression was icy and his back straight as he slowly walked towards the front. With every step, his presence increased. When he reached to the front of the formation, he was like an unsheathed sword, the sharp edges exposed to the air without any reservation. The mantis blade was unsheathed. Pointing forward. When Gongsun Cha saw Shi Dong's action, his lips couldn't help but curl up. Without any warning, his peaceful eyes suddenly began to boil. The shy and bashful smile suddenly held a thread of craziness and undisguised admiration. The other dared to advance alone after detecting his intentions and aimed straight at Turtle Island. Just this action was enough to win Lil Miss respect. When the opponent realized Vermilion Bird Camp's advantage in speed, the other advanced at full speed without holding anything in reserve. This action that seemed reckless had greatly weakened Vermilion Bird Camp's advantage of fighting on home ground. It forced Vermilion Bird Camp into an early battle with him. This was a pretty good opponent. The wind blew the fine bangs at his forehead. Under the excitement and pleasure of facing a matching opponent, Gongsun Cha's neck turned red. His consciousness spread like a net. Let's start. Mist hand seat. Zhuo didn't have the time to ask further when Yiling had started to attack. Whoosh! A ball of mist exploded within the Mo army and grew rapidly. In a flash, it spread out and covered the sky. Thousands of Mo soldiers were quickly swallowed by the grey mist and disappeared without a trace. The grey mist roiled restlessly as though an enormous monster was moving inside. Zhuo was on his guard. Pu Yao and Weiss' reactions right now proved that the enemy was powerful. But as the battle began, Zhuo threw all other thoughts to the back of his head. He stared at the grey mist as though he was staring at prey. Viciousness shone in Zhuo's eyes. Focused on fighting, Zhuo did not have any more terror or hesitation. It might have been the stimulation from Pu Yao and Wei that Zhuo's attention was exceedingly focused. The power of the Great Daimo physique was yearning to go inside his body while his Ling power and consciousness were circulating on their own. After cultivating Shen power, the connection between the three powers grew closer and moving one would activate and pull everything along. But Zuo Mo's attention was not on his own body. His attention was focused all behind him. He seemed to be standing inside a void with 2,000 candle flames behind him, each was a star. Every hardship guard was like wisp of candle flame. They pulsed along with the rhythm of his own heart. The two brightest flames should be Shu Long and Awen. Zuo Mo seemed thoughtful. 2,000 candle flames pulsed to the same beat. The threads of power gathered between them. Power and killing essence was continuously added. Zuo Mo felt his body was like an inflated balloon filled with dark killing intent and destructive power. They continuously beat against his mind. Kill! Zuo Mo's roar carried a thread of pain as he slapped towards the ball of black mist. Kill! The hardship guards shouted angrily and attacked at the same time. The black smoke condensed from killing essence gathered at Zuo Mo's right pal as though it was the rivers flowing into the ocean. The day script on Zuo Mo's right palm suddenly activated. It wasn't the usual blinding golden light but a terrifying dark red. Day script palm. Whoosh hiss. The sharp howl sounded in all directions. The moment the dark red day script left Zuo Mo's hand, it furiously pulled at the air and all the Ling power within 10 li. The air seemed to be dyed with a layer of red and the temperature of the air shot up. Day script palm. Great Daimo physique. Yi Ling was so shocked he almost shouted. Zuo Mo was completely ignorant of Mo skills and Mo physiques, but as a true-blood Mo, Yi Ling was familiar with all kinds of famous Mo physiques. When he saw this dark red day script, he almost went insane. The Crow Fiend Mo kill formation, standing in the position of that Mo withstanding, people unaffected by the Mo grass seed, these all shocked him. But when he saw this day script, he completely turned into chaos. All hail the king. Day script palm, this really was the day script palm. Great Day Mo physique, ranking second in Colonel Mo physiques. Day script palm, one of the 6 transformations of the Great Day Mo physique. But, wasn't the Great Day Mo physique something only Mo with the highest of bloodlines could cultivate? When were even Xiuzhe able to cultivate the Great Day Mo physique? Was it now fashionable for Xiuzhe to cultivate Mo physiques? Who really was the Mo here? Wait. Mo, unless the other was Mo as well. Yi Ling was astounded at this daring and crazy idea that popped up. He seemed to be struck by lightning. Mo. Yes, the opponent was Mo. Only Mo could cultivate the Mo physique. Yi Ling always paid attention to news from the front lines. They had never discovered any Xiuzhe that cultivated the Mo physique. The only things similar to the Mo physique were the Diana Xiu of the Xiuzhe, but the two had innate differences. He was 10,000% sure this was the Great Daimo physique, and this Great Daimo physique that had been cultivated to an extremely high level. The cultivation difficulty of the Great Daimo physique was just as famous and terrifying as its ranking among colonel-level Mo physiques. Its 6 transformations were even harder to cultivate. This definitely was not any Dana technique. The dark red day script pulled at all kinds of energies within 10 li. Even fine black smoke that were like razors were layered by the purest of Mo killing essence. Yes, he had not seen it wrong. Yi Ling was frightened by his own thinking. Mo. A Mo that had been lost in Xiuzhe territories. Lost in the Xiuzhe world, possessing the highest bloodline, Mo that tried to create Mo army. Oh, all hail the king. Chapter 518, All Hail the King. The dark red day script howled as it reached him almost instantaneously. It really was the day script palm. At such a crucial time, Yi Ling did not feel any fear from being hit but instead felt extremely excited. Day script palm. Great Day Mo physique. All hail the king. His vision sudden became slightly blurred as a daring and insane idea revolved in his mind. He was extremely excited, but his strong mind had been tempered through many battles showed in his unwavering spirit. He tightly gritted his teeth and channeled his MO skill to its limits. The other's skill in the day script palm was very profound, but in his view, the other's battle formation was still slightly lacking. This was his chance, and the only opportunity he could exploit. Otherwise, with the Great Day Mo physique working with the Crow Fiend Mo kill formation, his Mist Hand seat and the Skynet combat formation had no chance of victory. In his view, it was logical that a descendant of a noble Missouri lineage lost in the shoujo world to be lacking in their understanding of MO battle formations. The cultivation of the MO physique could be reached through talent and MO skills, but battle formations could only mature through experience in the military. The gray mist suddenly shot out many thin chains made from gray mist, like tentacles. They were sharks that smelt blood and furiously flooded towards the intimidating day script. Pia pia pia. The gray mist tentacles had not even neared the day script when they were crushed by the powerful presence of the day script and exploded. As expected of the legendary Great Day Mo physique, Yi Ling's eyes grew bright within the gray mist. Strangely, there was joy on his face. The gray mist tentacles shot at the day script at an even faster rate. The tentacles were densely packed and seemed endless. Explosions rang out, but the number of gray mist tentacles were even more numerous, as though there was no end to them. Pia pia pia. The gray mist from every destroyed tentacle would be dispersed by the day script. Looking from afar, it seemed as the day script was continuously consuming the gray mist tentacles. Yi Ling methodically controlled every strand of gray mist. He quickly started to show tiredness. He was filled with shock. He found he had underestimated the other's skill in the Great Day Mo physique. This was the Deep Mo layer. This was definitely the Great Day Mo physique at the Deep Mo layer, only then could it have such domineering power. A Great Day Mo physique in the Deep Mo layer. Once this idea came into his mind, he couldn't help but shudder. Such an outstanding Mo. In any of the Mo Jia, he definitely would be a genius unable to be dismissed. He was so young, so filled with talent, and had such a limitless future. To be able to create Mo army in the shoujo world, he must be stubborn and resilient, determined and persistence. He couldn't dare think of the hardships involved. All hail the king. Heavens, are you trying to make it up to your servant for being unable to cultivate the Mist Mo physique, by delivering such a great opportunity in front of me? All of Yi Ling's composure flew away. However, he had to first deal with what was in front of him. Yi Ling forced himself to calm down. He was unable to cultivate the Mist Mo physique, and he could only withstand this attack through the power of the battle formation. Sharp howls suddenly rang out from within the gray mist. Countless crescent-shaped mist blades suddenly flew out of the mist like a tsunami. They drew out strange curves in the air and shot at the day script that was incoming. Looking down from the sky, this scene was spectacular. Like whips, the gray mist tentacles shot out in ruler straight lines, shooting out like spears. The deep howling as they cut through the air caused people's minds to waver. Boom boom boom. But the day script was still unstoppable. No matter if it was the gray mist tentacles or the crescent mist blades, they exploded once they got near. But even so, the attacks continued, each like a thunderous raindrop, and managed to push back the day script. The gray mist tentacles and the crescent-shaped mist blades were coming increasingly close to the day script. Within the gray mist, every Mo soldier was releasing their own attacks at the fastest possible rate. When each attack was released, it would be shrouded in a layer of gray mist. They did not need to control the direction of the attack, they only had to release attacks at the fastest possible rate. Boom! A crescent-shaped mist blade heavily struck the day script. The attacks that came after slammed the day script like a storm. The day script finally could not stand up and exploded. All the energies within 10 li pulsed along with this huge explosion. Among the gray mist were sounds of panting. Every Mo soldier had a face full of shock. This was just the first round of the enemy's attack. Zhuo Mo frowned. The other's battle method was very strange. Was this the so-called mist hand seat? However, This mist hand seat was strange, but he did not feel it was powerful. He was not so arrogant to think that he could defeat the other in one blow. He felt his body was full of energy that could not be used up. He was filled with the desire to fight. "Come on, baby," he shouted inside. He hasn't cultivated the mist emo physique, no wonder he is so weak. Pu Yao was greatly disappointed. He had felt the other could give way a shock but hadn't expected it to be damaged goods. He was full of disappointment. In a blink, the duo's positions had switched. Weiss Pi's smile came back on. Yes, such a pity. Hearing the exchange between the two, Zhua Mo twisted his lips. The power of the Crow Fiend Mo kill formation filled every corner of his body. His excitement activated the Great Day Mo physique to its limits. His excitement caused him to turn into a battle maniac. He was like a lion with bloodshot eyes that wanted to charge and tear the enemy into pieces. "Come on, baby." Overexcited, a strange blade that seemed to burn in flame appeared in Zhua Mo's hand. Vast power flowed through his arm into the midday blade in his hand. Whoosh, the golden flames suddenly jumped up high. At the same time, the Great Day banded flame inside Zhua Mo's body uncontrollably sprouted out. Shrouded completely in golden flames, Zhua Mo held a blade that was also covered in golden flames. Zhua Mo was immersed into excitement. The midday blade was raised up high. Behind him, all the hardship guards raised up the Mo weapons in their hands. Each Mo weapon was shrouded in black mist. If this strike landed, it could tear apart the sky. Zhua Mo was like a bloodthirsty lion that stared at the roiling gray mist. "Sire, please wait a moment." Within the mist, a hurried voice suddenly passed out. Zhua Mo stilled. A middle-aged person dressed in gray robes walked out of the gray mist. He possessed a pair of gray eyes that looked extremely deep. He walked along to the front of the formation and bowed to Zhua Mo. "Sir, I am the commander of this troop. We surrender." "What? Surrender? What sort of interji joke was this?" Zhua Mo felt as though he was having problems with his hearing. Surrender? Hadn't the fight just begun? The person in front had a respectful expression and was extremely polite. He looked very normal. Mo military surrendering to Xiuzhe? Was there something wrong with his brain? The suddenly surrender, or rather, the battle general's polite, respectful and sincere surrender forced every bit of Zhua Mo's burning battle spirit back inside. "Sir, please allow us to surrender to you. We are willing to swear our allegiance to Darren." Yi Ling's voice was deep and hoarse, carrying sincerity that even an idiot could detect. The Mo soldiers behind him shifted. I. Forced back, Zhua Mo felt as though something was blocking him from to speaking. In reality, he still held the midday blade up ready to strike. It was only his thoughts that seemed to be frozen in wax. To surrender to someone that cultivates the Great Day Mo physique, this is our honor. Please allow us to follow behind Darren, we are willing to burn our lives for Darren to command. Darren's commands are our honor. Yi Ling humbly bowed deeply. All hail the king. Hearing the words, Great Day Mo physique, the restless Mo army suddenly stilled. Immediately after, uncontrolled joy shone on many of their faces. Moments later, all the Mo soldiers bowed and shouted in unison. All hail the king. Everyone behind Zhua Mo was stunned by this scene. Even the mature and composed Shu Long looked on with a dazed stare at the Mo army and was unable to make a sound. The lively A Wen's mouth was gaping. He looked as though he had seen a ghost. The worst off was Gu Minggong. He was in complete chaos as he murmured to himself, illusion, this must be an illusion, is this a trick? Has Darren sent someone to pretend to be Mo? Was this a trick from the start, this old man, which motherfucking Jia is this? Everyone behind Zhua Mo turned to stone. Even Pu Yao and Wei were almost driven slightly insane by the scene in front of them. Are they really Mo? When did the Mo become this spineless? Pu Yao looked at Yi Ling as though he wanted to pluck out Yi Ling's soul and examine it. Degeneration. This is degeneration. Wei howled. He felt discomfort as though he swallowed a fly. This guy was a neat freak. But the one feeling the most discomfort was Zuemo. His spirit had never burned like this before, never had such fighting spirit, never had been as impulsive as this. It all stopped and he had to suppress it. Zuemo's frozen face first turned pale and turned red. Energy flowed up, and his face was so red as though blood could start dripping out at any moment. Big bro, you're messing with me. A moment later, Zuemo could only wail inside helplessly. But the other's attitude was sincere, humble, and the tone as well as polite. No matter how suppressed the fighting spirit was, he could not vent it. Face flushed from suppressing it, Zuemo could not swallow the breath or breath out. He didn't manage to say a word at all. The exciting battlefield suddenly sank into a strange silence. Yi Ling's battalion still maintained their bows motionlessly. They were like a group of statues. Not one Mo soldier moved. A light of unusual determination flashed on everyone's face. Great Day Mo physique. That was the Great Day Mo physique of legend. Only Mo that had the most noble bloodlines and unparalleled talent could cultivate this kind of Mo physique. This kind of Mo possessed the potential to become king. Every Mo soldier seemed to see the great path shining in front of them. All hail the king. Chapter 519, On the Same Path. Complete silence. A complete and deathly silence. Everyone started to recover from the initial shock, especially Xu Long and his group. Even though this incident had occurred so suddenly and was so implausible, it had happened in front of him. Everyone looked at Zuemo. Many people couldn't help but sigh inside, as expected of Darren. Zuemo could not pay attention to them so much. His spirit was suppressed almost to the point of causing an internal injury. It took great effort to calm the energies roiling inside of him. But as more and more gazes looked at him, he felt he needed to display more of the mannerisms of a boss. He straightened and coughed lightly. In the silence, it was unusually clear. He frightened himself. Yi Ling and the others suddenly became alert, their expressions even more respectful. I say, this. When Zuemo started to speak, the presence of a boss instantly dissipated. You guys want to pledge allegiance to me? Yes, Darren. Yi Ling's response was clean and crisp. Why? Zuemo asked curiously. His question attracted everyone's attention. Truthfully, no one understood what was going on. Darren has the potential to become king, Yi Ling unhesitatingly replied. Everyone liked hearing flattery. Zuemo was not an exception. He instantly gave a smile. You have pretty good eyes. You managed to find me when I am hiding so deeply? Gu Minggong, who just recovered, suddenly had a strange expression. But when he glanced around and saw the seriousness on Xu Long and the other people's faces, he intelligently suppressed his impulse to laugh. Xu Long, and the others threw gazes of praise at Yi Ling. As Zuemo's core troop and most loyal subordinates, Guard Camp was completely loyal to Zuemo. They originated as Xiuzhe slaves. Compared to the old-timers of Vermilion Bird Camp, they were less skilled in the ways of social interaction and did not understand the customs of the Xiuzhe world. Their thinking was simpler and even purer. In their minds, Zuemo was the most outstanding, powerful, and wisest Darren in the world. Even if Zuemo told them to jump into a fire pit, they would jump in together without any hesitation. In their minds, they only existed for Zuemo. Gu Minggong felt Yi Ling was only giving platitudes, but Xu Long and the others did not think so. To be able to recognize Darren's strength in such a short amount of time, this guy had pretty good eyes. Unconsciously, Guard Camp's collective opinion of Yi Ling shot up. Yi Ling's words caused Zuemo to float and feel as though he was an immortal. The incident of almost getting internal injury just now was forgotten immediately. He grinned to the point his eyes were narrow lines. His face bloomed like a flower. Potential to become king. Oh ho, tell me, slowly, in detail. Yes. Darren. Yi Ling thought that Zhuo Mo was testing his abilities. He collected his thought with the utmost seriousness before he opened. Darren is young and has cultivated the great Mo physique. In all of the Mo world, Darren could be called a genius. Situated in such a dangerous place, Darren was able to create such a powerful army and create such a situation. Darren has the signs of being a wise leader that can survive these troubled times. Only Darren, who is strong, has talent, a resilient personality, and also one with great foresight, might become king. Shu Long and the others nodded and exchanged looks. As they communicated through their eyes, they showed expressions of agreement. Shrunken in the corner, Gu Minggong was gaping. As he looked at the smug Zhuo Mo, he felt this was impossible. The person speaking was serious, the person being praised was also serious. There was no flattery, no insincerity. It was terribly sincere and honest conversation. But the clever Gu Minggong opened his mouth a few times, but could not produce a word. Oh, it was a pity that eldest Shixiang and Gongsun Shidi were not present. He had forgotten, he should have recorded it with a jade scroll. Extremely happy, Zhuo Mo instantly felt regret. This was one of those rare chances to grow face. He wanted everyone to see this. Finally struggling out of his regret, Zhuo Mo smacked his lips with lingering hunger and coughed pretentiously. Oh, all right. However, we need to be low-key. No wonder Darren was able to survive in the shoujo world until now and had even amassed such a group. He really understood the way of concealment. Yi Ling said with sincere reverence, "Yes, Darren." Having heard the flattery and having enjoyed it, Zhuo Mo felt that leaving like this was not fair. He thought and then said, "Oh, since you have such sincerity, then from today onwards, you are Grey Camp. Shu Long will temporarily lead the camp, you will be the vice commander." Yi Ling was overjoyed. "Thank you Darren for bestowing the name. But from today onwards, you have to take note and not reveal your identity as Mo." Zhuo Mo reminded Yi Ling, "Yes." Yi Ling was full of admiration. Darren was extremely meticulous. He turned his head and spoke a few words. The entire Mo army changed their expressions. The Mo that could enter the Mo military all was of relatively strong strength and changing appearances were not hard for them. However, the Mo sense of beauty was far different than shoujo. They preferred more rough and powerful appearances. Then Yi Long greeted Shu Long and the others had been shoujo slaves and oppressed by shoujo for a long time. They did not like shoujo but did not have any bad feelings about Mo. Yi Ling's words just now had won their good opinion. Shu Long and the others felt as though Yi Ling spoke what they all thought. A feeling of walking on the same path rose. Shu Long said solemnly, "I will treat Grey Camp fairly, everyone work hard." Yes. Yi Ling was full of excitement. Accidentally recruiting Grey Camp caused Zhuo Mo's sneak attack journey to end in a strange manner, but in all, he had still accomplished his objectives. Under the efforts of Guard Camp and Grey Camp, they quickly began setting up a new base at the Chaos Rift. Compared to the crude base that Yi Ling had, the scale of the new base was astounding. However, the Mo grass sea was still uprooted. This was really too eye-catching. At this time, Yi Ling suddenly came to find Zhuo Mo. "Darren," Yi Ling said with hesitation. "What is it?" Zhuo Mo asked. "Darren, please permit me to persuade Sherdong Darren to surrender." Yi Ling gritted his teeth and said with determination. "Sherdong." Zhuo Mo stilled and then he reacted. "You mean the other Mo army?" "Yes, Darren," Yi Ling hurriedly said. "Sherdong Darren was this subordinate's previous commander." "Oh, tell me about him." Zhuo Mo's interest was stirred. Sherdong Darren is born from a rare branch of the Mantis Mo called the Sky Mantis Mo. Sherdong Darren is the most outstanding battle general this subordinate has ever seen. He is resilient and determined, extremely perceptive in battle. If he was not limited by his birth as a Mantis Mo, his accomplishments would not be limited to just so. "How is he compared to you?" Zhuo Mo asked curiously. Yi Ling's mist hand seat had left him a deep impression. This subordinate is inferior, Yi Ling said seriously. This subordinate has always served as Sherdong Darren's quartermaster. So that's how it is. Zuemo instantly had the feeling he was making a great profit and hurriedly nodded. Then you can try. Yi Ling was overjoyed. Yes. Smoke wafted off Sherdong's body. His grand cape was no torn and dirted, his body covered in wounds of various sizes. He also had a tired expression. Beside him, there were only half of the organized troops that remained and all of them carried wounds. Sherdong had not expected the other to be so powerful. Thinking about these nightmarish days of battle, his heart couldn't help but shudder. The enemy battle general was too powerful. Other than at the beginning when the two were at a standoff, Sherdong had been forced to watch as the balance of battle slowly tilted towards the enemy. A slow yet resolute tilt. He had tried all the solutions he could think of but was still unable to stop the tilt. The other had suppressed them completely and did not give them any faults to use. He had never thought he would encounter such a terrifying opponent. Was this the legendary Shui Dong from Kunlun? Or Tianhuan's Gongye Shaorong? Wasn't this Cloud Sea Jie? Wasn't this a remote little place that four-realm heaven disdained to enter? How could such a peerless battle general be here? A golden battle general. Only a golden battle general could suppress him to the point of hopelessness. Sherdong was just a step away from becoming a gold battle general. If it wasn't for his Mantis Mo bloodline, maybe he would be a gold battle general already. Since a very early point in his life, he had rarely encountered a match for himself. He never lacked confidence when directing battle. But this time, looking at the small groups of 3 and 5 sword shio that were nearby in the sky, he bit down on his lips with a pale face. Just at this moment, a gasp of shock came from his vice commander. He suddenly turned around his face with a sword-sharp gaze. But when he saw the black insect in the vice commander's hand, he suddenly froze. A good opponent, Lil Miss' voice was full of praise. No one dismissed his words. The hardiness of this troop far surpassed their expectations. Even though Vermilion Bird Camp had quickly gotten the advantage, the others still withstood their assault. Even though they could not stop the rising tide, the collapse in morale that people predicted had not occurred. Even fighting to now with only half of their battalion left, their morale was still shocking steady. If this was a normal battalion, they would have crumbled long ago. This kind of enemy was worthy of being respected. Ever since Lil Miss created his own core scripture, his consciousness expanded rapidly by the day. His last shortcoming disappeared. Lil Miss, who had been strong to start with, had become extremely terrifying, unusually and abnormally terrifying. The advancement in skill caused by his increase in consciousness could be seen in this battle. From the moment the battle begun, the rhythm of battle was in his hands. From beginning to end, he didn't give the enemy on chance. Steadily and unrushed, with a method that was almost suffocating, he pressed on the other's space, leaving them no room to maneuver. However, Lil Miss still had a high opinion of Sherdong. If he hadn't had a breakthrough in his consciousness recently, the other would have been significant trouble for him to defeat. If the battle was fought in those conditions, less than 1/3 of Vermilion Bird Camp would remain, and it wouldn't have been 0 fatalities like it was now. The other reason they had such an advantage was the enemy Mo army's level was 1 lower than Vermilion Bird Camp. The investments that Mo made on Vermilion Bird Camp without any consideration for the cost finally showed their effects. Lil Miss was sure that the other had power that was nearing that of a gold battle general. Of all of Turtle Island, only Gongsun Cha and Mo had the power to fight against him. Even Shu Long was lacking in comparison. It was a pity that Sherdong encountered Gongsun Lil Mississippi. The terrifying Lil Miss that even the renowned Corps Commander Yu Heng had fallen at the feet of. Such a hardy opponent, Gongsun Cha sighed emotionally and turned to give the order to attack. Prepare to attack, let's finish this battle before sunset. Suddenly, Gongsun Cha's gaze stopped. He saw the enemy battle general leave the battle formation alone. The sword shio at the front quickly flew back and reported to Gongsun Cha. Darren, they are surrendering. Chapter 520, The Master of Clouds. See, no one had expected that the battle ended in this kind of manner. When Lil Miss received Zhuomo's paper crane, he did not have any hesitation and led his troops directly towards the Cloud Sea Jie River. No one knew that Turtle Island had achieved victory over the Mo army. There were large numbers of Xiuzha gathered at the Jie River and were preparing to flee Cloud Sea Jie. When Lil Miss appeared with the troops, he instantly caused panic in these Xiuzha. Even the Xiuzha that occupied the gathering points on the Jie River assumed that Turtle Island had been defeated. In panic, they instantly abandoned their bases to flee Cloud Sea Jie. Lil Miss easily took over the bases on the Jie River. There wasn't any conflict involved. Those Xiuzha that had been running away quickly reacted when they saw Lil Miss take over the gathering places. Turtle Island had defeated the Mo. As expected, the news of their victory was quickly proven. Everyone was overjoyed. At this time, control of Cloud Sea Jie landed completely in Zhuomo's hands. They had become the true masters of Cloud Sea Jie. The Xiuzha that had been planning to escape returned to their homes. Without the Mo army threat, who was willing to leave their homeland? Turtle Island's strength astounded everyone. At this time, which faction did not know of Zhuomo's ambitions? But the situation had formed and they could not do a thing. Fight? The other could defeat the Mo army. Wouldn't killing them be as easy as waving their hand? The factions that were not willing to be subordinate to Turtle Island left Cloud Sea Jie. However, many families that had deep local roots decided to stay in Cloud Sea Jie. Unexpected to Zhuomo and Lil Miss, the great majority of people decided to stay. Zhuomo later learned that most of the people in Cloud Sea Jie did not care who ruled them. Turtle Island's strength was also enough to protect them and for them to feel safe. With the sky-splitting calamity, war was spreading everywhere. These days, the sound tablet continuously broadcasted areas that had become battlefields, which areas had been turned into a patch of scorched earth, or was filled with mountains of corpses. It seemed that within the span of one night, the Xiuzha world really entered a troubled era. In a troubled era, preserving their lives was enough to satisfy most people. But for Zhuomo, this was just the beginning. He was extremely busy every day. The enormous Cloud Sea Jie was the largest piece of territory he had ever controlled. The responsibilities as master of a Jie were novel and puzzling for Zhuomo, an ignorant country bumpkin with unorthodox origins. The complex matters were piled up like mountains and caused him a headache. He did not know where to start. Out of helplessness, he could only ask Pu Yao and Wei. Now you see, I guessed this would happen long ago. Pu Yao did not reserve his disdain as a scornful smile hung on his face. This guy is just a country bumpkin. He can manage some business that doesn't require long-term investment. But to be a small-time landlord, he doesn't have the skill. Wei did not pay attention to Pu Yao's disdain. He had a warm and friendly smile on his face. Did you encounter some trouble? Neither of these two were good people. In all of this, Zhuomo was clear on this one point. Nothing more needed to be said about Pu Yao. He was an ungenerous person, but Wei wasn't much better. He might look harmless and friendly, but his level of danger wasn't any lower than Pu Yao. He did not respond to Wei. He had to cause conflict between these two. Zhuomo's eyes turned and he suddenly asked, Pu Yao, how is your Yao army? Pu Yao's expression instantly darkened. The anger in his bloody pupil roiled. Those damned talentless trash, idiots, garbage. Even when he used all his methods, the foundations of these people were too weak and they could not satisfy Pu Yao even now. Yao army. Wei gave an interested smile. No wonder Pu Yao had been absent in this past while. So he had been working on a Yao army. It seemed this guy still held a grudge over him stealing away guard camp. Zhuomo disregarded Pu Yao's dark expression and said to himself, no matter how powerful 10-finger prison is, it is only the 10-finger prison. It cannot solve all training problems. Useless words. Pu Yao's voice was glacial and his expression was unfriendly. He knew that Zhuomo was right. 10-finger prison was very effective, but it also had its limitations. It could not replace true combat. At the beginning, Nan Yu and the others had improved quickly, but recently the effects of lacking combat training had started to show. Their rate of advancement had slowed down. But damn it, was the great Pu Yao Darren someone this boy could laugh at? It seemed that it had been too long since the boy was straightened out. This guy was becoming outrageous. Pu Yao was irritated. Just as he was going to punish Suemo suddenly spoke, "I have a good solution." Ha! Pu Yao seemed to have heard a great joke and roared with laughter. He did not disguise his look full of disdain. "You, the country bumpkin, has a solution. This is too funny." Immune to Pu Yao's disdain since long ago, Suemo's expression was unconcerned. "You can listen first and then laugh." Pu Yao's laughter suddenly stopped. He stared hard at Suemo and a moment later, he squeezed out between his teeth, "You better have a solution. Otherwise, hee." Suemo said solemnly, "Many chaos rifts have appeared in the sky-splitting calamity. These chaos rifts have connected the worlds of Yama and Shouja. It is correct for me to say so." "Don't waste words," Pu Yao said coldly. There was a faint smile on Wei's face. He sat motionlessly and listened carefully. The Yama and Shouja territories can be connected through the chaos rifts rather than traveling through bloody sky metropolis Jia like in the past. The distance between the two sides has shortened. Just as Pu Yao was running out of patience, Suemo suddenly said, "Maybe we can create a transportation formation and transport Nan Yu and the others over here." Transportation formation? Pu Yao paused and then had a thoughtful expression. A moment later, he shook his head. "Impossible. We cannot determine their location. You know that some transportation formations are composed of a yin and a yang component. What if we get Nan Yu and the others to set up the yin formation?" Suemo asked in response. Pu Yao's eyes suddenly lit up. He was an extremely smart person and instantly understood what Suemo was thinking. These transportation formations were divided up into yin and yang formations with the two situated in different places. This way, the two formations could still connect and so there would be a passage. If Nan Yu and the others could set up a yin formation in the Yao world, a yang formation set up here, that meant the chaos rifts formed from the sky-splitting calamity were actually natural transportation formations. Pu Yao quickly thought of the difficulty involved. He shook his head and said, "The transportation formations are too complex. None of the others understand formations." "We have sun seeds," Suemo said proudly. "The sun seeds can enter the 10-finger prison and be taken out. We can engrave the transportation formation onto the sun seed and use the 10-finger prison to pass it to Nan Yu. Wouldn't that work?" This idea is interesting." Pu Yao stilled and then had a pondering expression. A beat later, he said, "We need to try and find out." Suemo's idea was very daring. "I can supply sun seeds to you. You can find Gu Ming Gong for the transportation formation." "That guy is very clever," Suemo said generously. "Humph." Pu Yao snorted. He did not respond to Suemo. "You only have to assign the daily affairs of Cloud Sea Jia to those local powers and get them to take care of it. If they do it well, reward them. If they don't, they get punished. Gather their powerful Shouja and make a battalion with your people as the leaders. Adding on your own battalions, who can rebel?" Suemo slapped his head and understood. Pu Yao just used a few words and smoothed everything out, pointing straight at the crux of the matter. Suemo wasn't stupid. He had been bewilderment because he never had experience dealing with these matters before. After being guided today, he instantly understood. He left the sea of consciousness with excitement. From beginning to end, there was a faint smile on Wei's face. It was unknown what he was thinking. Sherdong looked coldly at Yiling. Yiling was unaffected. "Does Sherdong Darren have any questions?" "What you say is true." Sherdong coldly spat out, his hand on the mantis blade at his waist. "Completely true. Yi Ling said sincerely. All of my subordinates saw Darren's great Damo physique. If Sherdong Darren has any questions, you can ask any one of them. Sherdong's expression did not change. His subordinates are Xiuzha. There are Xiuzha. Yi Ling corrected the mistake in Sherdong's words, guard camp, which is the camp that my superior, Shu Long Darren commands, cultivates Mo skills. Sherdong Darren might have heard of the skill, hardship guard. Hardship guard. Sherdong's pupils suddenly contracted. Of course he had heard of this name. This Mo skill was something usually cultivated by the guards of Mo generals and had an extremely high in reputation. Yes, it is the hardship guard that most Mo generals' guards cultivate, Yi Ling said with a grave expression. But the hardship guard that Shu Long Darren and his group cultivate has been modified by a very powerful Darren and is based on the Great Day Mo physique. It is called Great Day Hardship Guard. Sherdong could not stop himself from showing shock. A Darren that can use the Great Day Mo physique to modify hardship guard, could they possibly be Xiuzha? Yi Ling asked in response. Sherdong was silent. He knew that Yi Ling was correct. Someone that had the ability to use the Great Damo physique to modify hardship guard was a powerful elder who definitely had a profound understanding of Mo skills. This kind of powerful person would not likely be a Xiuzha. This didn't just mean they couldn't be Xiuzha, they also could not be Yao. There was only one possibility, it was a powerful Mo, and an unusually powerful Mo. Cultivates the Great Damo physique, has created a Mo army, and has a Mo elder of immeasurable power. I cannot think of an identity for Darren other than Mo. Yi Ling was calm and wise. Sherdong was silent for a moment before he asked, what about those Xiuzha? This is the Xiuzha world. Sherdong Darren. Yi Ling reminded Sherdong. A purely Mo troop cannot survive here. Darren needs Xiuzha. Sherdong gave a bitter smile. He was persuaded. He sat down dejectedly. Yi Long looked understandingly at Sherdong. He said gently, I know what Sherdong Darren is feeling. For you, surrendering is hard to accept, but if you look at it from the opposite angle, Sherdong Darren, isn't this a great opportunity? He looked hard at Sherdong and asked, emphasizing each word, Sherdong Darren, how many years has it been since there was a king arose from our little savage Jiet? Sherdong's body shook. He raised his head, his gaze as sharp as a knife. You think he can become king? Maybe, maybe not. Yi Ling's tone was indifferent. But Darren is the Mo with the greatest potential to become king that I have ever seen. So you gambled everything? Sherdong asked. His tone was filled with disdain. Yi Ling was unaffected and smiled as usual. What else do we have? Sherdong Darren. Sherdong became silent again. Chapter 521, Followers having solved his problems, Zhua Mo could finally release a breath. He began thinking about finding water cloud embryo for Agui. Agui's recovery was going well. Even though she was still very wooden, she had more reactions. In a few days, we can go to search for water cloud embryo. By that time, you will completely recover. Suemo was very happy. If they found water cloud embryo, he could heal Agui. Suemo didn't feel any distaste for Agui's ugly appearance. A slight smile was on his face. His hand felt coldness. A cold little hand grabbed his hand. Agui was improving by the day. Every time she found Zuemo nearby, she would immediately appear next to Zuemo. The thing she liked to do the most was hold Zuemo's hand. Zuemo allowed her to grip his hand, his other hand rubbing her head. He said with a smile, when you have healed, silly bird and the others will be very happy. In the corner, the fat silly bird was napping with her eyes closed. She didn't respond. Looking at the bird nest he created out of Agui's hair, Zuemo couldn't help but roar with laughter. Agui still stood silently next to Zuemo motionlessly. Why are you sitting here? Do you have something on your mind? Ming Ju's voice came from behind Nan Yu. He walked next to Nan Yu and sat down. In this recent while, everyone was training together. The hellish training and shared hardship had caused their friendships to strengthen. Just now when cultivating in the 10-finger prison, Pu Yao had viciously scolded Nan Yu. When Nan Yu left the 10-finger prison, she had ran out alone. Everyone was worried and sent Ming Ju Zi, who was most skilled in communication, to comfort Nan Yu. Am I too dumb? Nan Yu's tone was melancholic. The rims of her eyes were red and her expression was sad. I'm always unable to meet Pu Daren's expectations. Even the persistent Nan Yu had been scolded to such a state. Ming Yu Zi was even more afraid of Pu Yao. None of us can meet Pu Daren's expectations, Ming Ju Zi comforted. It is not that you are not working hard, it is that Pu Daren's requirements are too high. Really, not even the elites in the top Yao art houses can reach what Pu Daren is demanding. It is extremely good that you can do what you have done. Out of all of us, you have improved the quickest. Nan Yu's lips were tightly pressed together and she did not speak. Pu Daren might be stern but it is for our sake. Look at our present strength. Compared to before, which one of us hasn't multiplied in strength? As he spoke, Ming Ju Zi compared his past and present strength and found to his shock that he had improved so much without noticing it. I miss Daren. Nan Yu's voice held a sob. Daren is never like this. Thinking about the time that Zui Mo had spent teaching her, Nan Yu missed it. Yes, I wonder what Daren is busy with. Ming Ju Zi sighed as well. He gazed into the distance. However, doesn't Pu Daren also work with Daren? Everyone is speculating. Pu Daren might be an elder of Daren's clan. I don't know what Daren's lineage is. But for his clan possess such a powerful elder, it might be one of the legendary great families. No matter what Daren's identity is, I am Daren's follower. I will forever follow Daren. Nan Yu's tone was determined. And, same with me. Ming Ju Zi retracted his cheer and showed a serious expression. Nan Yu suddenly stood up. Her eyes were still red, but her expression became determined again. What is it? Ming Ju Zi was slightly puzzled. I am going to cultivate. Nan Yu said without turning her head. I am Daren's follower. The figure disappeared with the wind as she threw down the strong oath. Gu Minggong's eyes were swollen like 2 ripe peaches. He had not rested for 10 days and nights. Even a Jindan could not tolerate working conditions like this. Anyone who saw his figure right now would not be able to recognize him as the Grandmaster of Forging and Sealing, Gu Minggong. He stared at the sun seed in front of him. The first time he saw this, Gu Minggong had been so excited his body had been trembling. Treasure. Peerless treasure. When he learned that this was the seed produced by the Sun Shin tree, a pleasure like that of an orgasm had risen in his body. Oh, heavens! Sun Shin tree, the legendary Sun Shin tree, hadn't it gone extinct a long time ago? When he learned he would be able to get a few to study, he felt so happy he almost fainted. There was nothing as powerful as legendary materials to a seal show skilled in forging. Then he learned the other person's intentions. They just wanted him to engrave a transportation formation inside the sun seed. He almost went crazy. Transportation formation. What he said was a transportation formation. This kind of priceless treasure was being used for just a transportation formation. He almost threw the other out. He could not tolerate such frightening waste. However, the other quickly taught him what the outcome of being uncooperative was. The great boss personally ran over to persuade him and motivated him in a meaningful tone before leaving. The pitiful Gu Minggong was frightened out of his wits. Even though boss had not mentioned one word of the soul-setting divine light at all, and did not say what would happen if he did not cooperate, but Gu Minggong sank into unprecedented terror. He didn't dare to slack off in the slightest. So what if it was a waste? He was just the worker. He quickly found that this guy in black clothing, floated around like a ghost all day, was the strictest and most terrifying supervisor in the world. The situation was also more complex than he had imagined. The sun seed was extremely rare. He had never seen one before, and even the forging records had never mentioned the qualities of the sun seed. Gu Minggong had to start from the beginning. The sun seed was filled with the domineering Sun Shan power. The Sun Shan power had formed through a long time as the Sun Shan tree grew, and was extremely domineering. Ling power would be consumed by the Sun Shan power when it was added, and it was impossible to carve a formation inside. He ran to explain to Pu Yao and was verbally slapped and rebuked by Pu Yao. Pu Yao's viciousness could him that he only needed a result, etc., etc. The pitiful Gu Minggong had the desire to ram his head into the wall and commit suicide. It was a pity that when one landed in the hands of a demon, one was even unable to seek death. Gu Minggong that was slapped and could only study even more ferociously and try everything he could think of. Ha 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 ha. I did it. I did it. The insane laughter echoed in the room. Whoosh, Pu Yao appeared like a ghost. Without a word, he picked up the sun seed with great carefulness. To Pu Yao, the Sun Shan power inside the sun seed was akin to a powerful poison. His consciousness retreated. Pu Yao showed joy and then disappeared soundlessly. The fighting in the Grey Clan's council meeting had not stopped since the meeting started. Sung Zhe was silent in the corner. He didn't have any right to speak in this place. A hint of impatience flashed indiscernibly through his eyes at the elders fighting. He felt those noisy elders had gone senile with age. Without Darren, would there be the Grey Clan of the present? In the future? In these troubled times, how many of the small clans like the Grey Clan could survive? Did they still think that this was the safe rear that the fires of war could not reach? Right now, was there still a rear? Clans without combat capabilities were like a piece of fat meat. No one would hesitate to leap and take a bite. Pu Darren had been helping everyone train the battalion. The Grey Clan that only thought about protecting themselves were too stupid. He was Darren's follower. Sung Ze's spine was straight as he listened expressionlessly to the discussions of the elders. The chief elder noticed Sung Ze's discontentment. His mind shifted and he suddenly spoke. Aze, what do you think about moving the clan? An elder said discontentedly, Chief Elder, Aze is so young, what does he understand? A cold light flashed through Chief Elder's eyes and he interrupted in a grave voice. Shut your mouth. Aze is the future clan leader. When you speak, use your mind. The elder retreated with a red face. Chief Elder was extremely authoritative and influential. Sung Zhe was the appointed successor to the Grey Clan, so everyone's gaze instantly landed on Sung Zhe. Sung Zhe did not shrink back. He did not look at the elders and said directly, I am Darren's follower. No matter where Darren goes, I will follow. Everyone stilled. They finally recalled the matter that Aze was Xiao Mo Ge's follower. In the Yao world, they put great importance on the oath of a follower. Becoming the follower of someone strong was the dream of many people. Not many would easily go back on their word. Chief Elder also knew the displeasure Aze was feeling. He said with a smile, Aze, continue. Sung Zhe suddenly swept tall of the elders with his gaze and said gravely, Elders, are we safe? Is the world safe? Are we strong? Strong enough that no matter what comes, we can protect ourselves. The room was silent. We do not have a battalion, we do not have battle generals, even with the Grey Scar art, we have no ability to protect ourselves. And then? We will be swallowed by other people, our Grey Clan's greatest secret, the Grey Scar art, will land in the hands of others. Our enemies would not surrender such a good chance. Sung Zhe stated this cruel reality without any courtesy. Will Darren swallow us? Will Darren need our Grey Scar art? Elders, did you forget where this Grey Scar art came from? What is safer than being under the command of a peerless battle general that could defeat Corps Commander Yuheng? This is an honor. Heat flashed through Sung Ze's eyes. All of the elders shifted. After a moment of silence, the chief elder did not disguise the praise on his face and said, I hadn't expected that our group of old people do not see as clearly as the young one, Aze. Those elders that had been objecting to moving the clan all had shamed expressions. Sky-splitting calamity. The sky-splitting calamity. Chief Elder's heavy sigh echoed in the room. I don't know how much blood will flow because of this. Everyone, do not dream and be foolishness, troubled times have come. Everyone had grave expressions. They digested what Chief Elder was saying. Chief Elder suddenly stood up. With a serious expression, he said loudly, in such troubled times, if our Grey clan is to survive, we need a stronger leader. Due to this, I recommend a Zay as the new clan leader. Sung Zay shouted in shock. Moments later. I second this. Seconded. I agree. A new era had arrived. Chapter 522, Beak Island. When Nan Yu and the others saw Zuemo, their expressions were spectacular. Even though they knew that Darren was young, the shock when they saw him with their own eyes far surpassed what they felt in the 10-finger prison. What shocked them even more was that Darren was in the Shouja territories. They finally understood why Darren had them change their appearances to look like Shouja when they came through the transportation formation. However, just like Yi Ling, Nan Yu and the others did not have any doubts about Zuemo's identity as a Yao despite their shock of where they were. A guy that knew all kinds of lost Yao arts, successfully completed a prison-breaking battle, and defeated Corps Commander Yu Heng. Other than a Yao, what could he be? Shouja. That joke would be so bad. On this point, their thoughts were also the same as Yi Ling. They felt that Darren was definitely a genius from a noble family that was lost in the Shouja-conquered territories. No wonder no one in the Yao world had found Darren. They finally realized. Darren wasn't in the Yao world at all. Right now, Zuemo was truly the master of Cloud Sea Jia in name and power. There were many Cloud Islands in Cloud Sea Jia and he picked a calm Cloud Island to settle the Grey family. The first day that Nan Yu and the others arrived, Pu Yao immediately started arranging a new training regime for them. Pu Yao was full of ambition. As one of the top battle generals of the Yao world, someone that had once dominated the world, he decided to make Nan Yu and the others into the best battle generals of the Yao world. He decided to let Wei realize the truth, why little Wei could only be a gravestone armor, and I, Pu, had been the best battle general once. The pitiful Nan Yu and others didn't even have the chance to breathe before Pu Yao kicked them into insane training routines. There was a boundary of Jinji set up around the Cloud Island. It was a natural demonic training ground. After Zuemo recruited the other powers, Cloud Sea Jia quickly settled down. The ones selected were those with good reputations in Cloud Sea Jia. The only two Yuanying that Cloud Sea Jia had seemed to have disappeared from the world after streaking naked in front of the public at the Sun Shin Temple. They hadn't shown up at all when the Mo army had invaded this time. Many people speculated that they had left Cloud Sea Jia long ago. They really had been greatly embarrassed this time. What face did they have to stay in Cloud Sea Jia? After arranging everything, Zuemo decided to enter the Cloud Sea to search for Water Cloud Embryo. This time, he did not take many people along. The Cloud Sea depths were not suited for large-scale battles. Their group was made up of a guide, Zuemo, Wei Sheng, Zhong Ru, Agui, and the little ones. They looked more like a tourist group. Even though they were few in number, their combat capabilities were amongst the top in Cloud Sea Jia. Zuemo, Wei Sheng, and Zhong Ru working together might hold up against a Yuanying. Zuemo had not planned to take Agui along, but Pu Yao told him that it was most effective to consume the water cloud embryo when it was caught, so Zuemo decided to take Agui along. Silly Bird stalked imperiously and proudly beside Agui and ignored Zuemo. Lil Pagoda and Lil Fire were cuddled up in Agui's embrace. Lil Black held onto Agui's hair in a death grip. 10th Grade and Sunshine appeared to be bodyguards and flew around Agui. Zuemo felt great exasperation. In terms of shamelessness and wretchedness, the little ones that Zuemo taught truly learned it all. Zuemo didn't have a solution. In any case, taking one or taking all of them along was the same. He changed his way of thinking, they were pretty good fighters. Nothing needed to be said of Silly Bird, she was the strongest of the little ones. Even Zuemo didn't have a good measure of her abilities. The next strongest was 10th grade. He had made trouble for the insects frequently, and his skill had completely changed. Lil Pagoda was Zhuomo's soul-tethered talisman. It played every day and never did anything productive. It could probably only be used when setting up formations. Zhuomo had not seen Sunshine fight before. Lil Black's combat abilities were 0, but he was a good helper when finding treasure. Lil Fire could be used to relieve boredom on the road. Zhuomo brought along his group and departed. The guide was called Kongda. He made a living by hunting water cloud embryos and was very familiar with the depths of the cloud sea. According to Kongda's plans, they first needed to fly to a place called Beak Island and then descend into the cloud sea from there. Beak Island was a very famous cloud sea port in Cloud Sea Jie. The depths of the cloud sea were filled with all kinds of dangers. If one tried entering from a random spot, they frequently did not return. Beak Island had been used as an entrance to the cloud sea for a very long time. That part of the cloud sea was very safe and there were no strong beings. The distance between Turtle Island and Beak Island was extremely far and there were many parts of the trip that did not have transportation formations. Fully prepared, Zhuomo had taken along the black turtle which saved them the pain of having to flying long distances. Wei Sheng and Zhong Ru were in seclusion every day. Zhuomo played with the little ones every day and when he had the spare time, he would slowly study the golden leaf he obtained from the Sun Shin tribe. He didn't know what secret method had been used to make this golden leaf. The content on it was extremely rich but because it was from the ancient era, there were many areas that were very hard to understand. Zhuomo's attitude was very good. He was not impatient and only studied it occasionally. Other than the methods to cultivate Shin power, he was also interested in the ancient secrets. For example, he found out from the golden leaf that in the ancient era Cloud Sea Jia had been barren and there were no other tribes living here. This was probably the reason that this Shin temple had managed to survive. What stirred Zhuomo's interest was that the golden leaf hinted that the Shin temple had been searching for something constantly in Cloud Sea Jia but never found it. Zhuomo finally understood and some of his own questions were resolved. Big brother Qinling had once said that the level of this Shin temple was not ranked low within the Sun tribe. Shouldn't such a high-ranking Shin temple be constructed in a large and populated area? Why did they build it in the remote and barren Cloud Sea Jie? But the golden leaf did not mention what they were searching for. However, it was certain that they did not find it because the tone of the records was slightly regretful. Zhuomo never stopped cultivating his Shin power but his progress was extremely slow. It was much harder to cultivate Shin power compared to the 3 powers. Fortunately, Zhuomo was not in a hurry. The only thing that made him slightly dejected was that after the 3 powers equalized and his Ling power had increased, but he was still a thread away from Jindan. If he could break through to Jindan, his power would multiple in the span of one night. His Shin power would increase as well, and enter a new realm. However, Zhuomo was very content at this time. Shin power, soul-setting divine light, great Daimo physique, and the archaic wasteland sacrificial art, which of these was not powerful and unique? He was able to learn all these, what could he be discontent about? A person could not be so greedy. Zhuomo was idle and satisfied. Half a month later, they finally reached Beak Island. Zhuomo looked at the large numbers of Xiuzha on Beak Island and was slightly shocked. So many people. Kongda explained, this is the best time to search for water cloud embryos and is also when Beak Island is most popular. Whether the yearly harvest is good or not depends on your luck during this time. These people are all searching for water cloud embryos. Zhuomo was so shocked his chin was almost on the ground. The great majority are. The cloud sea has other products but this period of time it is most profitable to hunt water cloud embryo. Kongda was clearly very familiar with the present situation. High demand, low supply, wouldn't it be difficult for us? Zhuomo frowned slightly. Kongda shook his head. How can it be so easy to capture a water cloud embryo? Island Master, do not worry. You see many people, but the number that will gain something will be very small. They are also not very strong and cannot go deep into the cloud sea. The best quality water cloud embryos are deep in the cloud sea. Zhuo heart was slightly reassured. Zhuo group had changed their appearances so no one recognized them. But Lil Pagoda and the others attracted the attention of these shouja. The heat and greed in their eyes caused Zhuo to frown slightly. Brother, are you selling this fire-ling beast? We can negotiate the price. An eagle-nosed man came over. From nearby, his compatriots looked over. Lil Fire jumped in fright and burrowed into Agui's arms. Lil Fire's intelligent response caused this eagle-nosed male's gaze to heat up. No. Zhuo's face darkened as he walked ahead. Hey, don't go. The eagle-nosed male blocked Zhuo and said with a smile, this little brother really wants it and is definitely sincere. Brother, give a price, we can negotiate. Kangda suddenly spoke, he family brothers, my Darren has said we are not selling, do not keep bothering us. The eagle-nosed male's eyes narrowed slightly and flashed, someone that can identify of this one's origins should be someone familiar. He Weiss eyes are stupid. Sir, who are you? Kangda smirked coldly, don't bother trying to find out my identity. Let me advise you, be good. Otherwise, humph, none of your brothers will be able to escape. This was slightly troublesome. He Weiss' heart shook. Someone that could identify his origins was definitely someone familiar. The other's tone was so harsh he clearly had a powerful background and didn't need to consider him. He Wei was experienced and knew when to bow. He smiled and said, brother, what are you saying? This little brother came up to ask, and does not have malicious intentions. He perceptively stepped out of the way. He watched as Zhuo's group left and thought hard, who was this? His brothers quickly came over. How is it? Are they not selling? No, He Weiss' expression was solemn, and one of them recognizes us. It definitely is someone familiar but they have changed their appearance. Who cares, just steal it. That fire-ling beast is definitely very high grade. If we can get it, second brother, your strength will multiply. One of the people said nonchalantly. This group's origins are not simple, if they are not rich, they are powerful. He Wei thought back to the meeting and felt the other was calm and clearly did not think highly of them. He shook his head and said, this group might be from a large faction. Let's not cause trouble. The other people all had unconcerned expressions. The geography of Beak Island was extremely unique. It appeared as though a bird was opening its mouth facing the sky. The entrance to the cloud sea was where the mouth was open. There was almost no cloud mist at the entrance. Looking down, it was possible to see an endless path that disappeared into the cloud sea. Beak Island was actually a mountain peak that had a section above the cloud sea. Darren, let's go down. Kangda said respectfully. Chapter 523, Xian Kong Temple's Mo and the others did not pay attention to the He brothers. Even Kangda did not keep them in mind. Beside him was the true master of Cloud Sea Jie. People like the He brothers were not worth a mention. As they descended into the cloud sea, the light gradually dimmed. The thick cloud sea blocked most of the sunlight, but this was not as dark as Mo had imagined. There were many cloud grasses floating in the cloud layers and each released faint light that illuminated the world below the cloud sea. Kangda saw Mo and the others curiously examining the cloud grasses and hurriedly explained, this place is a great producer of cloud grasses. The quality is very good, and occasionally, merchants from the outside will come and buy them. However, this is worthless locally. What is the use for this? Mo asked curiously. It was the first time he saw cloud grasses. These cloud grasses were shaped like sea grasses, the blades had the thickness of a pinky, completely white, and would release faint light. The individual bushes were about the size of a basket, and it was possible to occasionally see enormous ones that were multiple zhang in area. They can be used to forge water element Ling Dan, but only first grade, Kangda said. Those that aren't strong wouldn't dare to come down. Those that are strong do not care about these cloud grasses. These cloud grasses reproduce extremely quickly and can be found everywhere. Zhuo understood. Everyone walked down. This mountain path was misty, but the mist was tin. Under the cloud sea, what is most common is all kinds of cloud beasts. There are many people that come to hunt cloud beasts. Cloud beasts are water-oriented, and many people like them. But to get high-grade ones, they need to go deep into the cloud sea. Zhuo asked curiously, what qualities of the cloud beasts are outstanding? Being of the water element, their most powerful ability is their illusory spells. Since their body is formed from cloud mist, unless one encounters fire spells, other spells cannot inflict major damage. Kangda was clearly familiar with this area and his words flowed without needing to think. How long has old Kang been here? Wei Xing asked Kangda. Kangda couldn't help but sigh. More than a decade. Actually, there are several other entrances to the cloud sea other than this one, but this is the most famous one. Consequently, this place has the most shouja making a living here. Wei Xing smiled. He had endured poverty before, but his heart was dedicated to the sword. The hardships of life did not leave any mark behind and he naturally did not feel anything. Zhuo couldn't help but think back to his time at Wukong Mountain when he fought every day for each piece of jingshi. He instantly felt sympathy. Seeing Kang De's expression was slightly heavy, Zhuo hurriedly changed the topic. He said with a smile, those who have not come down definitely could not imagine that the scenery down here is very good. The faint cloud mist was like silk. The cloud grasses floating in the cloud sea slowly swayed with the cloud sea. Ha, Darren has good taste. But the scenery later will be even better. Kangda laughed openly. As Kangda said, the scenery below was even more beautiful. After walking for 4 whole hours, their field of view suddenly broadened. They had passed through the thick cloud sea. The thick cloud sea slowly rippled above their heads and countless cloud grasses drooped down from the cloud sea. These cloud grasses were extremely large, all of them multiple mu in area. The blades that dangled down were dozens of zhang in length. Looking from afar, the cloud sea was a curved ceiling, and the drooping cloud grasses were like densely packed waterfalls of light. The scenery was spectacular and endless. It's so beautiful. Zhuo was astounded. Wei Sheng and Zhong Ru were also shocked by the spectacular scene in front of them. Lil Pagoda and the others instantly became excited and flew around Agui. Lil Fire was so excited it started to chirp. Kangda smiled slightly. He was used to the scene in front of him and had become habituated to it a long time ago. The shouja that walked past them all smiled. Every greenhorn that entered the deep of the cloud sea for the first time would have this expression. There was a constant flow of shouja passing by. Everyone hoped to get something early. The price of the first batch of cloud beasts and water cloud embryo was usually the highest of the year. At this time, Zhong Ru, whose eyes had been closed all this time, suddenly made a sound and turned his head slightly. Several Diana Shio attracted his attention. The leader was one wearing purple Diana robes. He had white brows and hair, and had an extraordinary mannerism. Behind him were 3 Diana Shio in blue robes who were all very young. These Diana Shio also noticed Zhong Ru. The purple-robed Diana Shio's eyes flashed. He did not speak, but his palms came together as he bowed towards Zhong Ru. Zhong Ru's eyes were still closed, but a warm smile came onto his face. He also returned the greeting with his palms together. Noticing Zhong Ru's action, Wei Xing looked over. The other also noticed Wei Sheng. A thread of shock flashed across the purple-robed Diana Shio again, but his expression did not change. With a harmonious air, he bowed towards Wei Sheng. Wei Sheng did not speak and bowed slightly in acknowledgement. From beginning to end, the 2 sides did not speak, but a strange exchange had occurred between the 2 sides. Only when the other had gone far away did Zhong Ru and Wei Xing take their eyes away. These people are not simple, Wei Xing said in a deep voice. The Diana Shio in purple robes is very powerful, and possibly a Yuanying. Even if he isn't far from becoming one. Zhong Ru nodded and agreed, they should be from one of the great temples. We can ask Yi Zheng. He should know. Zuo, who had been wandering in his thoughts, finally focused. Seeing the two acting as though they were facing a great enemy, he couldn't help but inquire. The two narrated what just occurred. Zuo thought and then decided to go ask Yi Zheng. Kang De hadn't planned on talking, but he still couldn't help but say, "Darren, the cloud sea is thick. Paper cranes and normal flying swords cannot be used here, and cannot deliver messages to the outside." Zuo waved his hand and said, "No worries, I have my ways." Zhongru casted a small illusory spell which projected the appearances of the Diana Xiu. Zuo memorized it and then entered the sea of consciousness. Other people could not use paper cranes, but he could go through Pu Yao and pass the message out. But he hadn't expected Pu Yao to snort when he saw the people and said, "There's no need to ask other people, I know their origins." Zuo said suspiciously, "You know?" Pu Yao smirked coldly, "We fought so long in the past, it's impossible for me not to recognize them. They are Baldies from Xiankong Temple." You better be careful." Xiankong Temple. Zuo almost shouted. The biggest powers in the Xiuzhou world were the four realms, Kunlun, Tianhuan, Xixian, and Xiankong. Xiankong realm was the holy land of the Diana Xiu, and the gathering place of all the famed temples in the world. Xiankong Temple was also the leader of all the temples in the world. Yizheng's Great Buddha Temple might also be one of the 10 great temples, but compared to Xiankong Temple, they were not in the same class. You better not encounter the Baldies of Xiankong Temple. Otherwise, he. The bloody sea of Pu Yao's red eye roiled. Zuo was frightened by Pu Yao's vicious expression. He hadn't seen Pu Yao act like this when it was Kunlun. Are they more powerful than Kunlun? More powerful than Kunlun? Not that powerful, Pu Yao said coldly. Kunlun is the top in fighting power, but none are more powerful than the Baldies in dragging people down. The Baldies are motherfucking fanatics that do not fear death. There was one battle in the past when the Baldies wanted to exterminate us evil Yaoma, and 60 Yuanying committed suicide by exploding. If it wasn't Laozi that noticed something was wrong, we would have fell for it, and been blasted to pieces. Exploded, 60 Yuanying. Zuo stammered. He was unable to talk smoothly. This secret piece of information was so shocking he lost the ability to think. 60 Yuanying collectively exploding themselves. How crazy would they have to be to do that? 1 Yuanying from Tianhuan was enough to cause chaos in Cloud Sea Jia, 60 Yuanying. When Zuo came out of the sea of consciousness, Zhongru and Wei Xing looked at him. They had noticed Zuo's terrible expression long ago. Zuo opened his eyes and said in a dry voice, "They are from Xiankong Temple." Xiankong Temple. Wei Xing and Zhongru inhaled sharply. Kang De's expression instantly turned ashen. Xiankong Temple. The leader of all Diana Xiu, one of the 4 great sects in the world. Why have they come here? Wei Xing's sword heart was like stone and he quickly calmed down. Zhongru's samadhi was also extremely high. His mind shook and then he recovered his calmness. Zuo also recovered his calm. So what if it was Xiankong Temple? Hadn't he managed to trick the elder from Tianhuan? He had been frightened by the simultaneous suicide explosion of 60 Yuanying that Pu Yao had mentioned. He turned around his thinking. He was just a little character. They wouldn't give him such a grand treatment. He suddenly thought of something. He had to tell Guard Camp, Grey Camp, Nanyu, and the others to not show themselves in the short term. If the group of fanatics really caught them, they would definitely try to exterminate and kill Yaoma. Pu Yao was extremely dissatisfied with this action of retreating, but he also knew there was no chance of victory if he had Zuo face Xiankong Temple at this time. Wei held a slight smile as he watched Pu Yao and Zuo fight. But from any angle, it seemed that he was laughing at Pu Yao. After sending out the orders, Zuo saw the terror in Kang De's eyes and his ashen complexion. He hurriedly comforted. "Let's go, don't bother with them. The Cloud Sea is so large, and everyone has their own aims. We won't encounter them. Kang De's complexion finally improved. He felt that the words were right. He knew just how large the cloud sea was. How likely would it be that they encountered each other and competed over the same item? However, after this incident, Zhuo lost all of his interest. The beautiful and vast scenery instantly became tasteless. The cloud sea is endless and there are many paths. If it is someone who is unfamiliar, they would definitely get lost. The cloud over Kang De's mind gradually dissipated. Even though everyone was coming down from Beak Island, but the possibility of encountering each other was pitifully small. Zhuo swept the surroundings and suddenly asked, "Why is no one flying?" Kang De hurriedly explained, "The cloud sea is different than other places. It is best not to fly in here. The Ling power vibrations can easily attract the attention of many cloud beasts that hide in the cloud layer." At the beginning, many people thought they were powerful and just charged recklessly through, but they never came out in the end. After such a long time, no one dared to fly in there. So that's why. Zhuo finally understood. Fortunately, everyone was of deep cultivation. Walking was not a problem. After walking down for several hours, the cloud layer above their heads that was filled with cloud grasses became further away. Some cloud mist appeared along the road. The cloud mist was extremely unique. It was gathered and did not dissipate. Even when the wind blew past, it did not move at all. Little paths flickered in and out of view between the cloud mists as though there were complex spiderwebs spreading into the cloud mist. Chapter 524, Omen. Looking at the little path that was leading into the cloud sea, Zhuo released a breath for some unknown reason. Truthfully, the suddenly appearance of the Xian Kong Temple's Diana Xiao gave him enormous pressure. Anything that could attract Su Kong Temple's Diana Xiao was not going to be anything normal. Zhuo wasn't interested at all. He just didn't want anything to happen as he tried to heal Agui. There are so many divergent paths, you know all of them? Zhuo asked Kang De in curiosity. There were hundreds of these little paths that crisscrossed and confused the eyes. Darren, don't worry, this subordinate has been hunting here for over a decade and won't walk wrong even with my eyes closed, Kang De said proudly. He then introduced, these little paths might look complex, but if one goes through a few times, they can learn them. Starting from here, we will enter the true cloud sea. The cloud mist here is not thick, the deeper we go down, the thicker it becomes. Kang De led the group at the front. They walked onto a curved little path and quickly disappeared in the cloud sea. Shu, are those people suspicious? Ming Jing asked probingly. Of the three young disciples, his mind was the nimblest and he noticed Shishu's abnormalness. Pu Ya was correct, these people were Diana Xiao from Xian Kong Temple. The white-browed purple-robed Diana Xiao was called Ding Zhen, and the disciples in blue robes were third-generation disciples. Ding Zhen had come out with these disciples for them to gain experience. Along the way, they had received a message from the sect leader and turned to Cloud Sea Jie. Ding Zhen nodded, that Diana Xiao is from an unknown sect, he actually possesses wish power, it really is rare. Wish power? The three disciples stammered, their face filled with belief. The Diana Xiao that they had seen didn't appear much older than them. He also did not look special. Wish power was one of the rarest powers of all the Diana Xiao powers. The three of them were among the top ranks of the young disciples of Xian Kong Temple and naturally knew what wish power meant. The number of people Xian Kong Temple, the greatest temple in the world, who possessed wish power could be counted on the fingers. There are always better people, the world outside is filled with hidden dragons and crouching tigers. Ding Zhen glanced at the trio. Also, that sword Xiao's sword essence is so pure and condensed that I have only seen such a thing before on a few Kunlun disciples. If you encounter him, do not be careless. The other disciple reacted the quickest. Shu, could they be disciples from Kunlun? Not Kunlun. Ding Zhen shook his head, the sword essence of Kunlun does not feel like this. The expressions of the three disciples relaxed. It was good that it was not Kunlun. Kunlun had dominated the top position of the four-realm heaven for thousands of years. Even disciples of Xian Kong Temple were not willing to encounter Kunlun disciples. The four great sects fought openly and in the shadows, but there were rarely any direct conflicts. All of them were colossal beings. If fighting really started, it could not easily end. As long as those were not disciples of the other three sects, they didn't feel the need for any consideration. The enemies they were wary of and would treat equally were only disciples of the four great sects, people that were on the same level as themselves. Seeing the unconcerned expression on the faces of the three disciples, Ding Zhen shook his head inside. But when he recalled how he had been similarly proud when he was young, he smiled and let it pass. The disciples of Xian Kong Temple had the right to be proud. Along the way, Kongda chatted about all the strange tales and rumors of the Cloud Sea. His oratory skills were not good, but he was very experienced and knew many details. Zhuo Mo's group listened attentively. This trip took a day and night before the cloud mist started to become thick enough to obscure their vision. The pure white mist that seemed like cotton almost filled all of their vision. Little paths flickered in and out of the view in this cloud mist. If they were not careful and wandered off into the cloud mist, they would lose their direction. Then it would really be dangerous. Zhuo curiously examined the cloud mist floating in the air. These cloud mist were in the air, but they did not float everywhere. These little paths were very fine, but there wasn't any mist on the path. Zhuo asked Kongda about this. Kongda scratched his head. Darren, this subordinate has never thought about this. This subordinate has been here for over a decade. Even though the cloud mists will change annually, but these little paths rarely change. Would there be any dangers here? Zhuo asked. There are rarely any dangers in this area. Xiuzha frequently come through here, so cloud beasts and other things have been cleaned out, Kongda said. As Kongda finished speaking, Zhongru, who was walking in the rear of the group, with his eyes closed, suddenly made a sound and stopped walking. A cold light flashed through Zhuo and Wei Xing's eyes. They instantly stopped moving and held themselves warily. Kongda was extremely confused. Something is nearing us, Zhongru said in a low voice. Zhongru's samadhi deepened and his sixth sense was extremely sensitive. Unless Zhuo expanded his consciousness, he was not a match for Zhongru. However, Zhuo and Wei Xing were powerful people. At almost the same moment Zhongru spoke, they had also detected danger. Wei Xing held his black sword in his hand. Zhuo's Shen power turned into the three powers and was held in waiting. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Several white mist arrows suddenly shot out of the cloud mist with tearing sounds. Zhuo's movements were extremely rapid. His consciousness shifted and several ice mirrors were cast. Ever since he listened to Kongda speak about the unique qualities of the cloud best hears, Zhuo felt that Yao arts were more suited to the cloud sea. Ice mirror was a kind of little Yao art. When Zhuo used it, it was so fast people could not catch it. Bam bam bam. The ice mirrors shattered and a cold energy spread in the air. Several white shadows that charged out of the cloud mist instantly froze as their bodies entered the cold energy. Inside the cold energy were three cloud beasts that were shaped like squirrels. Their body was frozen by the cold energy into ice, and they still maintained their charging position. They were transparent and glowed like ice statues. Their faint blue eyes were beautiful. Bam bam bam. They crashed onto the ground and instantly shattered into a pile of ice. The ice quickly melted into water, and then dissipated into cloud mist to disappear. Cloud mice. Kongda's expression was shocked as he murmured to himself, "No. No. How can there be cloud mice here?" Hearing this, Zhuo's brow furrowed. "You are saying these things should not appear here?" Kongda refocused and hurriedly said, "Yes, Darren. Cloud mice are very sensitive to the movements of Xiuzha, and usually live deep in the cloud sea where there are no people. Also..." He halted. "Also what?" Zhuo asked in a deep voice. Cloud mice would rarely attack Xiuzha proactively. Kang Des' expression was not well. Cloud mice are very gentle and their temperament makes them suited to be pets. Female shouja often like them. It is the first time that this subordinate has seen cloud mice attack shouja unprovoked. State your point. Zuomo saw Kang Des hesitating and his face darkened. Kang De gritted his teeth and stated his speculation. This subordinate thinks that something might have happened deep in the cloud sea, so these cloud mice are acting. I understand. We will be careful and take precautions for our safety. Zuomo understood what Kang De meant, but he was definitely unwilling to go back like this. Before departing, he had made the decision to find a water cloud embryo. This matter did not just concern Egue, but also his birth and origins. He had a strong feeling that the relationship between he and Egue was definitely not simple. Zuomo had prepared fully for this trip. He had asked Gu Minggong for several transportation seals and he was not afraid of encountering danger. Seeing Zuomo's determined attitude, Kang De could not do a thing. The other person was his boss. Shu, something's not right. Ming Jing's expression was not well. They had encountered several waves of attack. He felt a thread of uncertainty. Ming Jing had come to the Cloud Sea to hunt cloud beasts before and was not unfamiliar with this place. The unusual situation was clearly a sign of something wrong. What is not right? Ding Zhen asked. This disciple has come to the Cloud Sea before. These cloud mice are fearful of people and would never attack Shouja first. Right now, they are so restless. This disciple suspects that something under has changed, Ming Jing carefully responded. A change? A light suddenly flashed through Ding Jing's indifferent eyes. He seemed slightly excited as he looked towards the depths of the Cloud Sea. Ming Jing jumped in fright at Ding Jing Shishu's burning gaze. It was the first time he saw such a gaze from the composed and indifferent Ding Zhen Shishu. Was there? His mind suddenly shifted as he recalled Ding Zhen Shishu having received a message from the sect leader in the middle of their journey. Ding Zhen Shishu immediately had hurried to Cloud Sea Jia by traveling day and night. Was there something that the sect leaders cared about that was hiding in the depths of the Cloud Sea? Ding Zhen glanced at Ming Jing. Ming Jing's heart jumped. Shishu's gaze was as sharp as a sword and seemed to pierce to the bottom of his heart. Let's go. Ding Zhen's expression became aloof again as he started to walk deeper into the Cloud Sea. Li Shu's mood was terrible. The mission of the Sun Shin Temple had failed. Even though the sect leader did not punish him, but thinking about what he had lost, there seemed to be a fire burning inside of him. The invasion of the Mo army and the news that Turtle Island had instantly taken over all of Cloud Sea Jia had also arrived in his ears. Turtle Island's power shocked him again. To be able to win against a Mo army, even a normal Mo army, Turtle Island was more powerful than they appeared. They had disguised themselves so well that he had not discovered their true strength. It was a pity that the sect had no interest in Cloud Sea Jia after the Sun Shin Temple. Chaos rifts were continuously appearing in the Jias governed by Tian Huan. Several small-scale Yama battalions had been discovered in several Jia, and the strength the sect had to spare for minor endeavors had instantly become limited. This was to the point that the number of battalions sent to the front lines had dramatically decreased. If their homeland was invaded by the Yama, there would not be any value in guarding the front line. Jingshi, materials, ling grains, and etc. Every kind of resource supply was having problems. These were all major problems. Elder Shen was sent to the front lines and Li Shu received orders to go to a place called Tongyu Jia to assist the local battalion because they had discovered a small Yama battalion there. Tongyu Jia was the producer of the Ling Jade, which was important to Tian Huan. Ling Jade was a very important raw material for forging seals. The importance of Tongyu Jia to Tian Huan did not need to be said. In comparison, the remote Cloud Sea Jia that did not produce anything significant and wasn't worth a mention. Chapter 525, Cloud Crystal Mist Flow. In the 7 days and nights they advanced through the mist, the coldness inside the cloud mist increased. Everyone had to channel Ling power to withstand the cold energy. Zuomo and the others finally understood why only those Jindan and above dared to enter the deepest reaches of the Cloud Sea. This coldness alone was not something those below Jindan could withstand. Zhuemo had the great day banded flame and the precious treasure of the sun crystal seed. The coldness did not affect him at all. What shocked him was that the little ones, each played happily and were extremely lively. Even Lil Fire, whom he had thought would not be able to persist, didn't seem uncomfortable at all in the coldness. They occasionally encountered some cloud beasts along the way, but fortunately, they did not encounter cloud beasts that were too powerful. Kang De's expression was full of worry. The abnormality of the cloud sea caused him to feel extremely unsafe. Darren, the cloud river is up ahead, Kang De's expression lightened. Past the cloud river, we can find water cloud embryos. This sentence caused morale to rise and the group accelerated forward. Soon later, a large river appeared in their field of view, but when their eyes landed on the cloud river, they all stilled. Kang De suddenly became overjoyed and exclaimed, "Cloud crystal mist flow. How can there be cloud crystal mist flow at this season?" There wasn't any cloud mist on the surface of the river yet. What was flowing inside the river was not river water, but densely packed ice crystals. These ice crystals were each the size of an egg and were rhomboid. It was clear and transparent, and there was a small ball of cloud mist which slowly flowed inside each rhombus. When the wide river surface that was tens of li in expanse were filled with this kind of ice crystal, countless rays of lights reflected and was dazzling. Zhuemo raised his hand and an ice crystal flew into Zhuemo's hand. Strangely, once the ice crystal left the river, it quickly melted into a thread of cloud mist that disappeared into the air. Wei Sheng and Zhongru had never seen this before and tried to grab the ice crystals as well. Wei Sheng made a light sound of surprise. Such heavy coldness. Kang De said with a smile, the cloud mist would condense into a flow of water and gather in the cloud river. Every decade, a cold flow would come. When the coldness invaded the cloud river, it would form the cloud crystal mist flow. The little ball of cloud mist inside these ice crystals are the purest of cloud essence and is something great for forging. Every time the cloud crystal mist flow appears, there would be troops of Shouja that come here to harvest the cloud essence. We are very fortunate to encounter this. Zhuemo found that many Shouja had appeared on the shores of the river. Each person's face was full of joy as they used all the talismans they had to gather cloud essence. Kang De took out a jade bottle and started to carefully gather cloud essence. Zhuemo snickered and said, "We cannot enter a treasure mountain and leave empty-handed." Finishing saying this, hundreds of jade bottles and boxes appeared in front of him. Wei Sheng and Zhongru also started to harvest. If cloud essence was forged into flying swords, the flying sword would become more nimble and quick. Wei Sheng threw the black sword into the air. The black sword hummed lightly and then suddenly produced a strong suction. Like a whale, it sucked in ice crystals. When the ice crystals left the river, they quickly melted and then the thread of cloud essence was sucked into the black sword before it could dissipate. Zhongru activated his attainment golden body. When the enormous golden figure appeared, a faint and authoritative Diana presence spread. A blurry bottle suddenly appeared in one of the hands of the mountainous golden body. The mouth of the bottle was pointed towards the river and countless ice crystals flowed into the bottle like birds returning to their nest. In comparison to the other two, Zhuemo was lacking. Even though his efficiency was high and he filled up all of his jade boxes and bottles, he still was not satisfied. His eyes turned and then he suddenly thought of the Yin Fire Bead chapter. Didn't this cloud essence belong to the Yin? He then tried to cast the spell of the Yin bead and motioned at the cloud river. Bam! Hundreds of ice crystals in the river suddenly exploded. The threads of cloud essence were like a barrage of rain that shot into Zhuemo's hands and gathered into a thumb-sized bead. This bead was round and glowing as though it was carved out of crystal. What was most marvelous was that there was a faint cloudy mist floating around it that made it very beautiful. Zhuemo saw that this method was workable and he laughed. He became even more motivated. Lil Pagoda laboriously flapped its eaves to absorb cloud essence. In Zhuemo's eyes, the Shouja that had forged Lil Pagodas was creative, but his method had been very primitive and crude. The reason that Lil Pagoda was able to reach this level was completely through relying on piles of talismans and rare materials. Gold, wood, water, fire, earth were the 5 levels of the pagoda. Zhuemo had put the 6th grade jade hook tree on the wood level, and Zhuemo's unique Great Day banded flame was on the fire level. The gold level was filled with vast amounts of gold crystal sand. Now they had coincidentally encountered the cloud crystal mist flow. It was definitely a 1 in 1,000 opportunity. As the cloud essence continuously flowed into Lil Pagoda's body, its dim water level slowly lit up and then exuded faint cloud mist. The Xiuzha on the river shores were disturbed by the noise going on over at Zhuemo's side and gave respectful and awed looks. Attainment golden body. Ding Zhen's eyes suddenly became bright. The figure behind Zhong Ru's back was blurry, but it was the dignified golden body. His shock overtook his ability to speak and he was silent for a while. Shu, what is the attainment golden body? Ming Jing was astounded. What could cause Shu to lose his composure? The other 2 people also stopped what they were doing. I hadn't expected that it was the attainment golden body. Ding Zhen forced a calm smile. It is a wondrous Dhyana scripture. Ever since the 1,000-year battle, it had disappeared. I had thought it was lost, and it is unexpected that a branch has survived. No wonder this boy was able to attain wish power. The successor of attainment golden body is as extraordinary as one would expect. The 3 disciples showed expressions of understanding. So this was a lost Dhyana scripture. Ming Zhu, who had been silent, suddenly spoke. The other 2 are also very strong. Hearing this, Ding Zhen stilled. Of the 3 disciples, Ming Zhu was the most stoic, but he was usually correct in his words. Ding Zhen's gaze finally moved away from the attainment golden body. When it landed on Wei Sheng's black sword, his pupils expanded. Such heavy fiendish energy. Such heavy killing intent. There is actually such a vicious weapon in the world. When he looked at Wei Sheng, he found that the other's gaze was clear without any maliciousness and his actions were honest. It was possible to see that the killing intent of the sword had not influenced his mind. He couldn't help but praise, such a determined and strong-minded man. His gaze moved to Zhuemo. He made a sound of surprise and his expression became bewildered. Strange, there's something strange. He said to himself, he clearly is not in the stage of Jindan, so how was he able to reach this place? His hand technique is also very strange, I cannot understand it. He kept on shaking his head. When his gaze turned to Lil Pagoda, his eyes lit up, but then he said regretfully, it is a pity. The 3 disciples were confused by his words. Ding Zhen did not explain and just said, these 3 are of extraordinary origins. We need to be extremely careful in our journey this time and not get in conflict with them. Seeing the unconcerned faces of the 3 disciples, Ding Zhen's brow furrowed. But when he thought about how they would have him, a Yuanying, supporting them, he couldn't help but laugh. He was too cautious. He did not continue to persuade them and said with a smile, you may want to harvest some more. It would be difficult to encounter such pure cloud essence in the future. It is a very good gift to give to your Shixiang and Shidi when you return to your sect. This time, even Ming Zhu took out a jade bottle and started harvesting. Of the 3, Zhong Ru was the first to finish. The bottle became even more defined. It had grown longer and there was a blood-red lotus on the surface of the bottle that flickered. The bottle was shrouded in cloud mist as it slowly faded into the golden body. Zhong Ru's palms came together as he stood up and bowed towards the cloud river. Zhuemo had also formed hundreds of cloud beads. He had used up all of the Ling power inside his body. He stopped, threw a few Ling Dan into his mouth and sat down cross-legged to recover his Ling power. Lil Pagoda seemed to be overstuffed as he swayed back into a Gui's arms and laid down with its tummy facing up. The black sword's absorption of the cloud mist had not decreased. Wei Xing stared attentively at the black sword and found to his surprise that the shape of the black sword was slowly changing. The body of the sword became even narrower, and caused the sword to look longer in comparison. Compared to its previous vicious appearance, it seemed nimbler and more spirited. Despite appearances, its length was actually shortening. The long sword, which had been the length of a person, was now about the same length to Wei Sheng's ribs. The ruler-straight sword was still simple and unadorned, it had a deep black luster that did not give off any light. The present black sword was still a size larger than normal flying swords but was much more delicate in appearance than in the past. It was as though an ancient wild beast had hidden away its thick claws and teeth to silently settle down. There wasn't any aura of viciousness or fiendish energy, no killing intent, but for some unknown reason, Wei Sheng's heart was full of a faint joy. It took 2 whole hours before the black sword stopped absorbing cloud essence. The black sword suddenly disappeared and then reappeared in Wei Sheng's hand. Wei Sheng gripped the hilt of the sword, which was the perfect thickness and length for his hand. A smile blossomed on his face. Kang De had finished before Zhong Ru did. He had not expected to encounter the cloud crystal mist flow and had not prepared. However, he was not greedy and was very satisfied with the surprise. Darren, after crossing this cloud river and walking for 2 more days, we will enter the grounds of harvesting water cloud embryos. Before Kang De finished speaking, his voice suddenly choked off. Almost at the same time, Zhuo Mo and the others looked at the cloud river. A blue light suddenly flew out of the cloud river, covered in layers of ice crystals, and struck a Xiuzha. The Xiuzha hit was instantly frozen into a statue of ice. He didn't even have the time to scream before he dropped into the cloud river and disappeared. Ice breath beast. Kang De's face turned ashen and his voice trembled. The Xiuzha who were harvesting by the river shore instantly started to panic. Each of them had ashen faces as they turned and tried to escape. Dozens of blue energies flew out of the river. The Xiuzha that were struck instantly turned to ice sculptures. Even the expressions of their faces were preserved as though they were alive. This time, even Zhuo Mo's group changed expression. These dozens of Xiuzha were all Jindan but were able to withstand 1 blow of this blue light. What was even harder to believe was that the ones that were hit were the Xiuzha who had turned in order to escape. Zhuo Mo's heart shook. Such high intelligence. Suddenly, someone exclaimed in shock, "Heavens! The cloud river is growing." As he had said, the layers of ice crystals were growing upwards. They quickly reached the same level as the rivers of the shore and they were still rising. At this time, several bolts of blue light suddenly shot at Zhuo Mo's group. Face ashen, Kang De's soul almost left his body. Chapter 526, Clear Cloud Python. Kang De was closest to Wei Sheng. Wei Sheng's 2 thick eyebrows shifted. The slender and straight black sword appeared in his hand, drawing an arc and then a horizontal slash. A faint black ripple spread. When the blue light hit the black ripple, it disappeared without a trace. Zhong Ru's eyes were still half-lidded. His expression had not changed, but at some time in the brief moment since the start of the attack, his right hand had formed a seal. Dong! The attainment golden body suddenly formed behind him, one hand raised high as though it was holding something up. In this instant, a dignified Dhyana presence rippled outward and spread with the attainment golden body as the center. Zhuo Mo, Agui, and the others were enclosed within it. When the blue lights came into contact with this intangible ripple, they exploded in the air beautifully like fireworks. From beginning to end, Zhuo Mo had not needed to act. He stared at the roiling cloud river as though he was thinking of something. Unlike Zhuo Mo's group, which remained uninjured, the fatalities and wounds of the other Xiuzha were extremely high. The blue light that the ice breath beasts exhaled was very domineering and normal Ling armor could not black it. If they were hit, they definitely would turn into ice statues. The Xiuzha that could stop the attack either had great treasures or were very powerful. Zhuo Mo's gaze landed on the 4 Xian Kong Temple Xiuzha. They were the most attention-catching group. None of the 4 moved. The domineering blue lights seemed to be stopped by an invisible wall 10 zhang away from them. Zhuo Mo was intimidated. The others' move was revealed they were more skilled than their group. He was now 100% sure that the leading Dhyana Xiu was a Yuanying. Those that were not Yuanying were not able to resist like this. Ding Zhen's expression was unchanged, but his heart had become slightly clouded. The abnormal change of the cloud river was abnormal. It is the ice breath beasts. Ming Jing's expression was not well as he continued, 5th grade cloud beasts, their most powerful move is an ice breath attack. Ling armor below 5th grade cannot stop it. Did they appear previously in this place? Ding Zhen asked. Never, Ming Jing shook his head and responded, at most 3rd grade cloud beasts would appear here. Even 4th grade beasts were extremely rare, much less 5th grade. The expressions of the other 2 disciples were not well. For them, 5th grade cloud beasts were targets they had to face seriously. If the beast had the advantage and the benefit of the geography, they would have turned and fled without Shishu's help. Fortunately Shishu was present. For a Yuanying Xiuzha, 5th grade cloud beasts were easily dealt with. Shishu, should we save them? Ming Jing looked at the terrible state on the shores. There was a hint of pity in his eyes as he spoke. We have more important things to do. Do not stray. Ding Zhen looked towards the other side of the shore and said in a deep voice. Shishu, we are to cross the river. Ming Jing probed. Even though he knew that they had an important mission, there was the cloud crystal mist flow that had appeared out of season and the ice breath beasts that should not have appeared in the cloud river. Everything implied that something was unusual here. Stay behind me, Ding Zhen said faintly. He swept across Suomo's group and then turned his eyes away. Ding Zhen stepped out like usual and stepped onto the cloud river. Step by step, he walked as though he was on solid ground, steady and unhurried. The 3 disciples walked behind him and stepped exactly where he had. The moment Ding Zhen stepped onto the cloud river suddenly started to boil. Countless cold blue lights shot out of the cloud river and rained down on the quartet. Ding Zhen's expression was normal and did not change as though he did not see them. The storm of blue lights created countless fragments of energy as they hit the invisible wall. Ding Zhen and the others were not affected, and seemed to stroll towards the other shore. The Xiuzha who saw this all inhaled in shock. So powerful. Zuomo swallowed. This guy definitely is not the average Yuanying. Admiration floated onto Wei Xing's face. The power that Ding Zhen displayed far surpassed their own. However, the admiration was quickly replaced by motivation. He unconsciously gripped the black sword in his hand. The black sword that had completely changed in appearance after swallowing great amounts of cloud essence seemed to feel Wei Xing's battle spirit and lightly vibrated in Wei Xing's palm. Wei Xing felt the slight tremor from the black sword, and lovingly caressed the sword that had become long and narrow. Kangda had been rescued from the jaws of death. An experienced person, his ashen face gradually became normal again. Darren is wise. The ice breath beasts are 5th grade Ling beasts. The ice breath they exhale is glacially cold. Normal Ling armor cannot withstand it. His gaze landed on the ice statues on the shore and couldn't help but feel some grief. As they spoke, the ice crystals spilled out as the cloud river rose. Darren, let's return. Kangda gathered his courage and urged. His voice was full of terror. This subordinate has made a living for more than a decade in the cloud sea and has never seen. Suddenly some of the Xiuzha which had fled successfully stumbled back with terrified faces. The clear cloud python. Save us. Kangda stopped. In this instant, his gaze became stunned. An enormous snake's head suddenly shot out of the cloud mist and swallowed the Xiuzha who spoke in one gulp. The snake's head was enormous like a mountain that was hundreds of zhang tall. In front of it, Xiuzha were as minuscule as ants in comparison. It was made from the cloud mist, its 2 eyes gray-white and empty. Just this enormous snake head was enough to scatter some people's minds. Now even Zuomo and the others could not keep their calm. Their expressions changed drastically. Just the snake's head was so terrifying, so how large would the body of the snake be? What was even more terrifying was the presence exuded by this enormous figure was almost enough to make them suffocate. In this instant, Zuomo knew that they were not on the same level. Without hesitation, he grabbed a guai and sprinted towards the cloud river. Let's go. Wei Xing and Zhong Ru were in sync with Zuomo. At the border of life and death, Wei Shen grabbed Kang De, who was trembling. Zhong Ru started to move at the same time. Like arrows flying out of the bow, they shot towards the river. Silly Bird, who always seemed to most unconcerned, had the fastest reaction. With almost abnormal speed, she flew to the front of the group. Compared with the titanic beast behind them, the ice breath beasts in the river were adorable like pets. Blue lights flew like rain out of the river and shot at Zhou Mo and the others. At this time, no one kept anything back. Even Zhou Mo seemed to go crazy, endless Yao arts flying off his fingertips. He dared to guarantee that he had reached a peak state in casting Yao arts. He didn't dare to keep anything back, and he didn't even have the time to think as instinct took over his body. R. The cloud sea behind him seemed to shake. Terrifying power swept across like a gust of wind. In front of this kind of power, the blue lights of the ice breath beasts were weak like candles in the wind, extinguishing easily. Archaic wasteland sacrificial art. At this time, Zhou Mo didn't even look and threw the strongest Yao art he knew out behind him. The wasteland beast appeared. The lantern-sized red eyes flashed with an eerie light. As the wasteland beast appeared, it destroyed the wave of power that came at them with a swipe. Compared to the clear cloud python, the wasteland beast was much smaller. However, the wasteland beast stared attentively at the other. Furious battle spirit that was rare to see rose up in its bloody pupils. The clear cloud python also detected the power of the wasteland beast. It stared at the wasteland beast as lightning gathered in its empty gray eyes. The wasteland beast crouched and then leapt at the clear cloud python. The archaic wasteland sacrificial art had drawn out all the power in Zhou Mo's body. If it wasn't that the three powers could be changed into each other, Zhou Mo could not have cast the archaic wasteland sacrificial art after casting so many Yao arts. His body suddenly dropped down, and just as he was about to fall into the cloud river, he suddenly felt his neck tighten. It was Silly Bird that had grabbed onto him at this crucial time. Zhou Mo threw a grateful look at Silly Bird, but found to his shock that Silly Bird was rolling her eyes. He instantly became furious. Zhou Mo's other hand was tightly gripping Agui. Agui's face had not changed at all, as though she did not know what a dangerous situation she was in. Zhou Mo couldn't help but reflect that it was not a bad thing to be like Agui sometimes. Lil Fire and Lil Pagoda in Agui's arms gave off terrified shrieks once in a while. Grabbing onto two people, Silly Bird was still faster than Wei Shen and Zhong Ru. She kept a secure lead at the front. The next scene caused Zhou Mo to gape. Silly Bird was extremely nimble even as she dragged the two of them through the rain of blue light. None of the blue lights managed to hit them. Wei Sheng and Zhong Ru were also dodging, but they still had to stop to defend against some of the blue lights. A true bird would not show their face. Zhou Mo's mind moved quickly as he marveled. The bird seemed more powerful than he had imagined. Such a good laborer, how had he forgotten it? Waste, such a waste. As though she detected that Zhou Mo was scheming something, Silly Bird's body suddenly dropped. Zhou Mo, who had been thinking of how to wring Silly Bird dry, suddenly felt his vision turn blue. The surface of the cloud river was less than half a zhang away from him. He was even able to see the ice breath beasts that were hiding under the ice crystals. Silly Bird's action was clearly a provocative one to the ice breath beasts in the cloud river. Countless blue lights headed for his face, their goal was Zhou Mo. Zhou Mo's soul almost departed. He watched as blue lights took over his field of view. Then his neck tightened again and all the blue lights disappeared instantly. In that instant, Zhou Mo felt that his heart almost stopped breathing. Zhou Mo instantly reacted and swore, "You dumb bird, fat bird, chubby bird, GE will roast you, cough cough, hiss." Seeing Zhou Mo disheveled in the air, Wei Sheng and Zhong Ru had sympathetic expressions. They carefully maintained a distance from the raging Silly Bird. Compared to the raging Silly Bird, the ice breath beasts couldn't even count as pets. At this time, a great sound came from behind them. Affected by the tremor, the cloud river seemed to boil and ice crystals shot out of the water. Boom! With a muffled sound, Zhuemo and the others found that the large cloud river under them seemed to be torn apart by several great forces. It broke apart. They couldn't help but stop and look back. Chapter 527, Thieving Baldies. Only half of the clear cloud python's head was left, a portion of the cloud energy had been scattered and swirled inside the cavity. The enormous pain caused it to furiously twist its body. All of the clouds within dozens of li were pulled in and the wind cut past like blades. Where was the wasteland beast? Zhuemo's eyes were wide as he furiously looked around to search for the traces of the wasteland beast, but he could not find it anywhere. For some unknown reason, he felt a wave of sorrow. Even though he knew that the wasteland beast was a Yao beast summoned using the archaic wasteland sacrificial art, and would not truly die, he still felt a thread of grief. In his mind, the wasteland beast was undefeatable. On multiple occasions, it had been the wasteland beast that had saved him at the crucial moment. In his mind, the wasteland beast was like one of his comrades. Zhuemo stared hard at the clear cloud python that was still twisting around. In this moment, he hated himself for not being strong enough. Silly Bird also detected danger and accelerated. The clear cloud python quickly disappeared from Zhuemo's vision. A rare thread of trepidation flashed through Ding Zhen's composed eyes. He leaned back to look at the enormous body of the clear cloud python and could not move his gaze away. 8th grade Yao beast was something that even he feared. Ding Zhen felt a thread of regret. He should not have brought Ming Jing and the others along. He had not expected the cloud sea was so dangerous that it had cloud beasts that were 8th grade like the clear cloud python. Even he needed to be wary against an 8th grade Yao beast. Ming Jing and the others would not even have a chance to escape. No matter where, 8th grade Yao beasts were the top rank of the food chain and powerful existences that Yuanying Xiuzhe did not dare to provoke. This was really fortunate this time. If they had been a bit slower when crossing the river, then it would be dangerous. However, his gaze was fixed on the people that had just crossed the river, and murderousness flashed through his eyes. He clearly remembered the wavering in his heart the moment the strange beast was summoned. No one knew the shock he felt at that moment. He did not recognize the wasteland beast, but the unique desolate and ancient presence on the wasteland beast attracted Ding Zhen's attention the moment it appeared. The suicide attack of the wasteland beast, what had heavily wounded the clear cloud python, caused him to reassess the power of the wasteland beast. The clear cloud python was an 8th grade Yao beast. A Xiuzhe that could possess such a powerful Ling beast definitely would not have a simple background. Ding Zhen didn't even think in the direction of Yao arts. There was a distance between the two groups and the river was shrouded in cloud mist, so their view was obstructed. Also, all of their attention had been focused on the clear cloud python. 8th grade Yao beasts, even Ding Zhen had only ever seen a handful. It was only when the wasteland beast appeared that they attracted Ding Zhen's attention. Ding Zhen was considering if he should act against the other. His attitude towards Zhuemo's group was quickly changing. He did not know Zhuemo's goal in entering the deep of the cloud sea, but he felt a direct threat. He also was suspicious that Zhuemo's group was also going after that thing in the cloud sea. He would not allow anything unexpected to happen on this mission. But when he met the gazes of Zhuemo's group, he suppressed the murderousness he felt because their gazes were full of undisguised wariness. The other was prepared against him. Highly experienced old-timers. Ding Zhen instantly understood. He smiled like usual and nodded towards Zhuemo's group. He then turned with his 3 disciples and disappeared into the cloud sea. Crossing the cloud river safely, they could hear the howls of the clear cloud python from across the river. But for some reason, the clear cloud python seemed extremely wary of the river and did not cross it. Moments later, the shouts of the clear cloud python faded. The cloud river that had been torn into pieces spread everywhere, carrying along the ice crystals. Silly Bird relaxed her claws and Zhuemo collapsed on the ground. He was almost completely out of energy. Even Wei Sheng had an expression of trepidation on his face. Kang De's expression was stunned. He had not recovered from the situation. He intended to kill us just now, Zhongru suddenly spoke. Wei Sheng and Zhuemo stilled. The two exchanged a look and their expressions became grave. They knew just how fantastically sensitive Zhong Ru's perception was. There is no good baldi in the baldis of Xian Kong Temple. Zhuo Mo said hatefully. Wei Xing laughed. Alive. Am still alive, am I dreaming? Kong De's voice was trembling as he talked to himself. Zhuo Mo and Silly Bird rolled their eyes at the same time. Their movements were in unison and it could be seen that the two of them were about the same in virtue. Wei Xing patted Kong De's back and comforted him, it isn't a dream. Kong De seemed to be crazy. Everyone knew that he had not recovered from the shock of danger just now and were understanding towards his reaction. Zhuo Mo shoved a bunch of Ling Dan into his mouth, crossed his legs and then started to meditate. Wei Sheng and Zhong Ru guarded him to prevent any accidents from occurring. As the Ling Dan entered his throat, it turned to a wave of heat that spread through his entire body. Zhuo Mo was the only one that dared to consume Ling Dan in this manner. His channels were larger than normal people, and the paths his Ling power took to circulate through his body frequently differed from normal Xiu. He did not need to worry about collisions between large streams of Ling power. He manipulated the circulation of Shen power according to the methods on the golden leaf. The circulation of Shen power was more complex than any of the three powers, but its effect was also larger than any spell, Mo skill, or Yao art. Just an hour later, Zhuo Mo opened his eyes. He had completely recovered. Wei Sheng and Zhong Ru released a breath. If this was any other person, they would definitely be surprised at Zhuo Mo's quick recovery rate, but the two did not find it strange. In their view, nothing normal happened to Zhuo Mo. Kong De also gradually became calm but his face was still slightly white. What was the big thing just now? It is the clear cloud python. Terror rose in Kong De's eyes as he tried to keep his tone calm. It is the most powerful cloud beast in the cloud sea. From long ago, people have spoken of it but no one had ever seen it with their own eyes. Many people did not believe it, I also did not think it was real. I hadn't expected it to be true. Clear cloud python. Zhuo Mo's eyes were thoughtful but he didn't have any memory of it. What grade? I don't know. Kong De shook his head. It should be 8th grade, Wei Xing suddenly said. No wonder it was so powerful. Zhuo Mo stilled. Then he said with surprise, no wonder it could defeat the wasteland beast. Just as he finished talking, Pu Yao's cold snort sounded in his mind, my ass. Zhuo Mo's expression froze. Passing the archaic wasteland sacrificial art to you is a waste. Ha, the honored wasteland beast was killed by an 8th grade little fat snake, teacher, oh teacher, please do not climb out of your coffin. Shaming you even in Cloud Jie. I actually took on such trash as a student, I should poke out my own eyes. The misfortune of the school. The humiliation of Yao world. Pu Yao's disdain and mockery was thrown at Zhuo Mo him with everything he was able. Wei suddenly inserted with a smile, you cannot completely blame little Mo. The common saying is right, there are no stupid students, just terrible teachers. A deathly silence, murderousness spread in the sea of consciousness. Little Wei, it seems you are seeking death. Pu Yao was full of murderousness. So sorry, I know, the truth is slightly hurtful. Wei's face was full of innocence and apology but he looked extremely proud. Bam 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 bam. The two of them started to fight immediately. Zhuo Mo's face was full of exasperation. These two were really extreme. He turned towards Kong De. How far until there are water cloud embryos? Kong De thought and then said, not too far, about 2 more days of travel and we can arrive. However. He halted in speech. However what? Zhuo Mo asked. Kong De gritted his teeth and said, Darren, this subordinate doesn't dare to guarantee that there will be water cloud embryos there. Something big definitely happened in the cloud sea. And, this cannot be blamed on you. Zhuo Mo waved his hand and then stood up. He said, we will go immediately to find water cloud embryos. Suemo decided once they found a water cloud embryo, he would use the transportation seals and get everyone to leave this dangerous place. Kangda calmly quieted down. He also knew if he secretly ran away, he would not be able to escape the cloud sea. If he followed Darren, he would have at least a small guarantee of safety. The group stood and continued to advance. After walking for an hour, Kangda's face gradually became ugly. He suddenly stopped walking. Darren, the road is not right. The road is not right? Suemo and the others stilled. This subordinate is extremely familiar with this route and did not feel it at the beginning, but now, this subordinate is certain that the road is not correct. It seems, someone has modified it. Kangda's expression was puzzled. Suemo and the others changed expression. He closed his eyes and spread out his Shin power. When he opened his eyes, murderousness flashed through his eyes. Those damned baldies. As he spoke, he suddenly raised his hand. A ball of light suddenly exploded in his hand. Light charged into the surroundings. It was the art used specifically to defeat illusory arts, bone-crushing obscuring flash. The cloud sea in the surroundings flashed but did not change. Suemo's expression changed. Another, bone-crushing obscuring flash. Only after the third, bone-crushing obscuring flash, did the scenery change. Wei Sheng and Zhong Ru had terrible expressions. They had not detected the illusory art that the other had set down at all. Suemo's face was black. He had used, bone-crushing obscuring flash, 3 times in a row to defeat the illusory spell the other set up. This was enough to show the difference in power between them. The other's move was extremely evil. It was just a little illusory spell. If they did not detect it, they would fall. If they got lost in the cloud sea, they would not come out alive. Thieving baldies. Kangda looked around and then his eyes suddenly lit up. I know where we are. Finishing, he hurriedly walked towards the cloud mist on the right. Suemo and the others quickly followed. The Xiankong Temple baldies really do want to deal with us, Suemo gritted out. Rationally, we are not in conflict with them unless they have a target. Are they afraid that we will interfere? Wei Sheng showed a ponderous expression. Suemo said with a snicker, they definitely have something they are after. Otherwise, why would they come to the Cloud Sea? Something that can attract a Yuanying baldy of Xiankong Temple definitely would not be a normal treasure. Since they have involved us, he smirked coldly. Originally the two sides were only traveling in the same direction, you search for your treasure, and I'll search for my water cloud embryo. He hadn't expected the other to be so malicious and sneakily to move against them in secret. Xiao Mo's personality was to settle all scores. There was no reason to slight himself. So what if they were Yuanying? Suemo could not fight him for the treasure, but in terms of setting down traps, if Suemo did not have 10,000 ideas, he had at least a few thousand. Don't let Ji encounter you. Suemo gritted his teeth and cursed inside. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.